Last night at the stick, it looked like Terry Mulholland and the Cubs pitching staff had Barry Bonds numbered, whiffing the 8-time All-Star 3 times. But in the end, it would be the 3-time MVP Bonds, Barry Bonds, who stood tall, first going over the wall and left to rob Mark Grace of a home run in the 7th, then bursting their bubble for good with a game-winning single in the bottom of the 9th, handing the Northsiders another bitter loss and providing a painful lesson in revenge. Tonight, the Cubs hope to end their wave of bad luck. It's Game 2 from Frisco next on WGN. Candlestick Point in San Francisco tonight. Game 2 of a 4-game set between the Chicago Cubs and the San Francisco Giants. Hi everybody, I'm Wayne Larrivee along with Steve Stone. Well, the Cubs got some welcome strong starting pitching last night, but it wasn't quite enough to get the job done. Tonight, perhaps the most consistent starter they can offer goes to the hill tonight, Kevin Tapani.
Kevin Tapani's been terrific this year, but he has his hands full. Kevin Tapani at this ballpark has thrown okay, but not great. And if he's going to win tonight, he's going to have to handle the middle of this Giant order. And as you can see, Miller, Bonds, and Kent have absolutely killed Kevin Tapani. So keeping the ball in the ballpark has got to be his objective tonight.
Well, I'll tell you, Stoney, this should be a good pitching matchup here tonight because Russ Ortiz, the young right-hander for the Giants, is about the best they've got.
Russ Ortiz has been throwing exceptionally well, and after splitting the year last year from the bullpen to the starting rotation, Ortiz is a very dependable starter. Now, against the Cubs, he's had no luck at all. In fact, last year, with 3 home runs back-to-back-to-back, you'd have to say the Cubs crushed him. But this young man's got a good fastball, a great curveball, and right now, he's as good as it gets for the Giants.
All right, Kevin Tapani of the Cubs look to turn things around here in Game 2 of this 4-game set. Baseball coming up next.
Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN is brought to you by Bud Light. For the great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light. Your friendly Chicago area Dodge dealer. The new Dodge. Test drive the future. New Discover Platinum. Now more than ever, it pays to discover. Platinum. Pepsi, the joy of cola. ComEd, the official electric company of the Chicago Cubs. ComEd, what do you do with your power? The Illinois Lottery, where you have a chance at the big leagues every time you play. And by Southwest Airlines, offering low fares and frequent flights. Southwest Airlines, the official airline of the Chicago Cubs.
Twilight at 3Com Park outside of San Francisco, California, Candlestick Point. And we've got a usually, and I'm not saying unusually, it's a usually cool evening here in June for this game between the Cubs and the San Francisco Giants. No, the 49ers are not playing. Usually they can give up the blankets. By the time the 49ers get here in October, Stoney, the weather's pretty good at these parts.
Well, that's their summer, and unfortunately, this is not. So the fans are bundled up, and it's not great hitting weather, as was illustrated last night in a very tough and tight 3-2 game, and I'm sure Kevin Tapani feels the same about tonight's game.
Well, let's take a look at Jim Riggleman's lineup for tonight's game, brought to you by Pepsi. Goodwin, Morandini, Sosa, Grace, Rodriguez, Houston, Santiago, Hernandez, Tapani, and Morandini against right-handers hitting over 300.
And the defense for John B., Dusty Baker, and the San Francisco Giants. Bonds, Bernard, and Javier left to right. Miller, Aurelia, Kent, and Snow in the infield. Brent Maine behind the plate, and Russ Ortiz on the mound. The talented young right-hander, 9th in the league in ERA at .338, on for his 14th start last year. Split this season between the bullpen and the starting rotation. This year, he's been a starter all season. Now, as you can see, control at times has been somewhat of a problem, but he's got a terrific fastball, a good overhand curve. He's mixing in a changeup these days, and he's a guy that usually gets you into the 6th or 7th inning. The Giants have one of the best bullpens around, and Dusty Baker uses it particularly well, and essentially that's what kept this team afloat. They're 3.5 games in back of Arizona coming into tonight's action.
And this is an important game for the Cubs to get things back on track. Currently on this road trip, they're 1-3, 18-17 on the road overall. Houston is winning tonight behind Shane Reynolds 5-0. Bottom of the 8th inning in Houston over Montreal, and the Cubs began tonight's play 4.5 games off the front running pace of Houston in the Central, plus Cincinnati and Pittsburgh have crept on ahead. Take a look at the umpiring crew for tonight's game. Billy Hahn behind the plate, Paul Schreiber at first, Terry Tate at second, and Tom Halligan over at third.
And this Giant team has been a pretty good team at home. They're 21-12 here at 3Com Park. A little bit different on the road where they're 16-18. And the Cubs in the second of a 4-game series before they head to Colorado. We'll be at it again tomorrow. Day games tomorrow and Sunday. And the Cubs would like to come back splitting this road trip. To do that, they've got to really start to heat it up.
Curtis Goodwin stands in 184. Leading off tonight, no homers, 2 runs batted in. The right-hander Russ Ortiz, and the first pitch of the game is in there for strike 1 call.
Curtis has got a couple of bunt hits, and when he does it, he bunts it right at the second baseman. You like to put as much pressure as you can on Jeff Kent. He's not the best of glove men.
59 degrees at game time. 1 ball, 1 strike, and a pretty good breeze blowing through here.
And you never really know just exactly which way it's blowing. Take a look at the flags, and it swirls here.
1 ball, 1 strike. Goodwin fouls it off. Cubs are struggling, Stoney, in the leadoff spot without Lance Johnson. Just 4 for 34 in their last 9 games. 0 for 4 last night. That was Mickey Morandini leading off in the ball game last night.
And tonight, the game starts a half hour later than usual. So I think visibility might be tough at the beginning of the game.
Just a bit inside, and it's 2 balls, 2 strikes.
The Cubs can get Goodwin on at the top. They might be doing some hitting and running. Jim Riggleman would like to see this offense come to life. It's been dormant lately.
The 2-2, a little bit low, and it's 3 balls, 2 strikes. There's some Cubs fans. They're bundled up. I think they're at a Bears game or something. The payoff. Chopper toward the middle. Kent backhands. Nice play to J.T. Snow, retiring the speedy Curtis Goodwin.
That's one of the better efforts you'll see from Jeff Kent, ranging far to his right. The good backhand pickup. There's never been anything wrong with his arm. And he makes a fine play here. Known as an offensive second baseman, he turns in a defensive gem to lead off the ball game.
So 1 out, nobody on for Mickey Morandini. 0 for 4, as I mentioned last night, batting at .269 with a homer and 15 knocked in. Looks at a pitch down low.
Just before we came to town, Scott Service got a foul tip off the bat of Vinny Castilla. He went on the disabled list, so he's not available to this club.
A chopper toward Kent at second, and he shovels it over to Snow just in time. Morandini retired. I was talking to Scott Service before the game tonight, Steve, and when he injured that hand, he ran to the dugout, and people were wondering, well, why did he run to the dugout so quickly? He said, I was afraid I'd pass out. I saw the bone coming through the skin in my hand, and he got a little queasy. He said, I didn't want to faint in front of the TV cameras and all those people out there.
Well, that's a pretty tough injury, but he thinks that he's going to be able to actually start throwing the baseball in 10 days, which would be a remarkable recovery. And I think, Wayne, you're starting to experience the capricious 3Com Park winds. They're blowing your papers all around the booth.
Well, we're working open windowed here tonight. Well, not so much you, but not me.
You're getting ready for the frozen tundra.
That's right. This is nothing.
Green Bay.
You know, wait till your Arizona Cardinals get to Green Bay on January 2nd.
See how brave Wayne is in front of the open window?
Yeah, you know.
On the other hand, I don't like pneumonia all that much.
Sammy Sosa, the hitter, and he looks at ball 1. Sammy at .292, the 22 homers, 52 knocked in. He has doubled 11 times and has 1 triple. 1 ball, no strikes, and it's 1-1. Sammy hitless in his last 2 games after a career high 18 consecutive game hitting streak. Russ Ortiz, the Giants' number 4 selection in the June 1995 draft. Manager Dusty Baker, two-time manager of the year. He's got the gloves on. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Sammy's had a couple of good rips.
Well, you can bet they've told Russ Ortiz to throw high fastballs to Sammy. And if Sammy can lay off, they're going to be out of the strike zone. There's Ron Peronowski, the pitching coach.
Remember him with the Dodgers for many years.
As a pitcher and a pitching coach. Now Ortiz got a pretty good curveball, and Sammy lately, as he started to press a little more, is swinging at that breaking ball in the dirt out of the zone.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Pitch inside, and it's 2-2. There was a feature article on Sammy in the San Francisco Examiner this morning, and they were talking about the fact that what Sammy did so well last year was lay off the high gas and lay off the breaking pitch in the dirt, and he was pounding everything else last year. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, nobody on. Top of the first. And a swing and a miss, strike 3. 1, 2, 3 go the Cubs in the first. Bottom of the first coming up for the Giants. No score. Along with Steve Stone, Wayne Larrivee, our Cubs crew from WGN in San Francisco. Bottom of the first inning, and let's take a look at Dusty Baker's Giants batting order. Bernard, Miller, Bonds, then Kent, Snow, Javier, Aurelia, Maine, and Ortiz. And last night, 3 for 4 with a walk. Billy Miller was a thorn in the side of the Cubs.
The Pepsi defense for Jim Riggleman and the Cubs. Rodriguez, Goodwin, and Sosa left to right. Houston, Hernandez, Morandini, and Grace in the infield. Benito Santiago behind the plate. And 5-2 Kevin Tapani on the mound in this his 12th start, looking for his 6th win. An ERA brilliant at 2.51. His control's been terrific. He has kept the ball in the ballpark. But we told you about the middle of this order. Miller, Bonds, and Kent have absolutely murdered Kevin. That will be a tall order to get by them tonight.
Marvin Bernard, the leadoff hitter, looks at a pitch outside for ball 1. Bernard at .278 with 3 homers and 19 runs batted in, has an on-base percentage of .347. And the 1-0 delivery. It's a little bit low, running the count to 2 balls and no strikes.
3 times last night Bernard faked a bunt, and by doing that you bring him in at the corners, and that's where Grace and Houston are playing. There's a lot of room to slap him by it on the left side.
Tapani's pitch sails a bit high, and he's gone to 3-0 on the leadoff hitter. Bernard has reached base safely in 43 of 51 starts this year. That's 84%. And the 3-0. Looking all the way at strike 1.
There are 2 players in this lineup, Bernard and Aurelia, that really owe a lot of their success to Dusty Baker and the faith that he's had in them.
Laid off the pitch just a bit high and outside, and a walk leads off the Giants' half of the first inning. Here's our ComEd Power Profile tonight, Steve.
ComEd Power Profile tonight is Kevin Tapani, leading the way in earned run average. See Jose Lima with a great year. Of course, Randy Johnson, Kevin Brown, Mike Hampton, but Kevin Tapani the best of the bunch, and for that he is our ComEd Power Profile. So concern on the face of Jim Riggleman. You don't have to tell him the numbers of the guys in the middle against Kevin Tapani. Walking the leadoff man is not the way to get out of the first inning.
Bill Miller, the third baseman, takes a strike.
Now what you have here is a man who can't run very well, and so a ground ball leads to 2.
Grace holds on the runner at first. Miller came in hitting at .308 with a homer, 16 runs batted in. And the pitch down low. It's 1-1.
Miller a switch hitter, and he's been a good hitter from both sides. So we saw him last night. He's hitting .323 as a right-hand hitter, but he does most of his damage as a left-hand hitter, and he's hitting .303 from that side. He's not your prototypical third baseman, however, because he doesn't have a whole lot of power.
But in his first 3 years in the majors, he's averaged .300 at the plate. Pitch is lifted to center field. Goodwin came in for a moment, now backs up on it, makes the catch. Marvin Bernard heads back to first. Then Bill Miller is retired. So 1 out, 1 on for Barry Bonds. You know, Steve, when you talk about a superstar, player who can beat you many ways, Barry Bonds was in the process of striking out 3 times in that ball game last night. Yet he tagged up and moved to second base in a play in the middle of the ball game, and then eventually scored on a base hit. He robbed Mark Grace of a home run, and then finally, as you guys were talking and Chip Carey pointed out, as Harry used to say, the big possum walks late, and that he did. A run-scoring base hit on the first pitch to him in the bottom of the 9th inning to win the ball game.
And he told me that he was very frustrated by Terry Mulholland because he knows that he's always hit Mulholland very well. Not quite as well as he's hit Kevin Tapani, but very well, and yet he swung through some sliders last night. He said it frustrated him.
Runner going, pitch hit high in the air, deep to right, and it is gone. Barry Bonds with his 5th home run of the season, and the Giants lead it by the score of 2-0.
Well, we told you coming in, Bonds was hitting .615 against Tapani. He had 8 hits and 13 at-bats, including 3 home runs. Now he has 9 hits and 14 at-bats, including 4 home runs. And just like that, the heart and soul of this ball club has put them on top 2-0. That is home run number 5, RBIs 15 and 16. And the Giants are mighty happy to have Barry Bonds back.
Well, that's his first home run since coming off the disabled list. He was 4 for 25 with 5 walks and a couple of RBIs in 7 games, but had not shown anything close to the form that everyone knows Barry Bonds plays to. But there was a prodigious shot, and the Giants are in the lead. Now Jeff Kent lifts a fly ball to right field. This one, Sammy Sosa camps under and puts it away. 2 men down. So 2 out, nobody on. Take a look at Bonds again.
Well, take a look at the swing, and Bonds gets a fastball up and out over the plate, and if you're going to keep it up on him, you have to keep it in. Kevin didn't, and that's only the 4th home run Kevin has given up this year, but there was no doubt about that one.
JT Snow, the hitter. Snow at 300 with 8 homers and 45 runs batted in. JT, the son of former Notre Dame All-American, NFL star wide receiver Jack Snow. Takes a pitch at the knees for a strike call. Went through a tough year last year, Stoney. Suffered through the death of his mom on June 4th. And had some injury problems throughout the season. And boy, you know, we talk so much about pro athletes in terms of numbers and that type of thing, and we hardly ever take into account that they have lives and feelings and go through the ups and downs like anyone else does, and certainly it can affect their job, no doubt about that. And JT persevered through that season. He's off to a fine start this year.
Well, he's always been a real good player. When you look at 248 last year, you know Snow's a much better hitter than that.
Chopped toward the middle. Mickey Morandini makes the short hop pickup and the play to Grace in time. But the Giants break on top with 2 runs on a shot off the bat of Barry Bonds at the end of 1. 2-0 Giants. Back at 3Com Park, Candlestick Point in San Francisco. Wayne Larrivee and Steve Stone. The Cubs trailing 2-0 as we go to the top half of the 2nd inning. It'll be Grace, Rodriguez, and Tyler Houston to face Russ Ortiz. There's a look at Mark Grace, off to a .310 start. 8 homers, 37 knocked in. Ortiz, 25 years old, out of Encino, California.
And I think, Wayne, he's really just coming into his own. His first year was 95. He spent time at Bellingham and San Jose, 96 San Jose and Shreveport, 97 Shreveport and Phoenix, and last year Fresno and then San Francisco, where he went 4-4. And you can tell he seems to be getting better, and certainly much better this year than last.
First pitch to Grace is in there for strike 1 call. Grace hitless in his, had a 6-game hitting streak snap the other night, last night, matter of fact. 6 for 23 over the last 7 games. Just 55 hits from 2000 in his career.
And Ortiz really is doing it just the opposite way that most people do it. He started out as a closer. But they shifted him over to the starting rotation. He didn't start a game his first 2 years in professional baseball.
Well, he was a closer on that Oklahoma team that went to the College World Series and won back in 1994, I believe it was. And
a college roommate, a teammate of Ryan Miner, who's one of the crown jewels of the Baltimore Oriole organization, the man that everybody talks about in every trade that they propose to the Baltimore Orioles.
Giants have a number of guys who played in the College World Series, which is going on this week in Omaha, Nebraska. Ortiz, Armando Reyes, Barry Bonds, of course, played in 2 College World Series, 83 and 84.
With the Sun Devils, the Arizona State Sun Devils. And he didn't spend too long in the minor leagues before they brought him up.
Brent Maine at Cal State Fullerton in 88.
I remember the man.
2 balls and 2 strikes. You're starting early tonight, aren't you? Save your best stuff, though. I mean, you know, we're only in the second inning. You know,
you don't want to peak too early, but bear in mind it is 9:56 back in Chicago.
Absolutely. You want to make sure the big audience hears your best. 2-2 pitch, and Grace hits it well to right field, but played well by Stan Javier, who makes the catch, 1 away.
My friends can only stay up another half hour.
Is that right? 1 out, nobody on for Henry Rodriguez. Henry coming in, he's still carrying a .343 average with 11 homers and 41 runs batted in. Also 13 doubles. Cubs have lost 7 of their last 8, looking to get things turned around, but trailing 2-0 in the top of the second.
And they've got a pretty radical shift on Henry. They've got Aurelia playing up the middle, Kent playing him as a dead pull hitter at second. And they believe if he hits the ball on the ground, he's going to pull it. You see where Aurelia is playing up the middle. But they play him pretty much straight away in the outfield. They respect his power to left center field if Ortiz stays away.
And they pitch him away, and he fouls it off. 1 ball, 1 strike. Here in 3Com Park, Candlestick Point, the right fielder for the Giants, I've been noticing last night and here tonight, and in this case tonight, is Stan Javier, plays very deep. And is that in adherence to the power alley in right field where the wind's blowing out usually in the evening, and that's where the ball's going to carry?
Yeah, pretty much it's a wind tunnel there, Wayne. And the wind tunnel here, now that they've reconfigured the stadium for football, is really right centered. Oh, to just about the Jackie Robinson 42 in right field. If you get it out there, even medium depth fly balls start blowing into that alley, and they'll either go out of the park or really deep on the warning track, and that's why they're playing so far back.
Here's a look at it. 3 balls, 1 strike. Ball 4, and Henry Rodriguez, the first base runner for the Cubs here tonight.
Giants know they have a tough task ahead of them. They're chasing Arizona, and Arizona has been deadly at home. They're 23 and 8, and they have a lot more home games coming up with a very heavy road schedule early in the season, very much like the Cubs. The Cubs are very heavy on the road side. It'll all even out, of course, in the second half of the season. Looks terrific for the Cubs.
Giants are starting a sizable homestand here this week with a series against the Cubs, as Tyler Houston takes ball 1. We mentioned Ortiz has struggled a bit with his control. Walked 5 batters in his last outing at Seattle, left trailing 3-2 and bases loaded in the 7th inning, but the Giants came back to win that game 8-4. 1 ball, no strikes, the count. And there's a strike, 1-1.
When he does have trouble with his control, it's fastballs up and out of the strike zone. He is a hard thrower, and occasionally he'll try to throw a little too hard. And as you can see, last time out, the 5 walks, as Wayne pointed out. If he walks 5 tonight, it'll be hard for him to get away in this one.
1-1 pitch on the outside corner, and it's 1-2. Giants are 18 and 8 in Ortiz's 26 career starts, including wins in 13 of his last 17 outings. Now, he hasn't always gotten the win, but the team has won games where he has started, and that tells you something, doesn't it?
Well, it tells me that he keeps him in the game.
Called strike 3 on Tyler Houston. He could not pull the trigger. Second strikeout for Russ Ortiz. Let's step away for station identification.
This is America's #1 sports station, WGN, Chicago.
Three-Com Park, San Francisco, California. Wayne Larrivee, Steve Stone. Great to have you with us tonight for Chicago Cubs baseball got a day game tomorrow. You
Yes.
okay with that? Are you going to be ready to go tomorrow?
I'm ready to go now. Let's play 2. Geez, I sound like Ernie.
Not hardly. Benito Santiago looks at strike 1.
Well, the Cubs know that Houston has already won, so they've run their record to 39-26. And they came in with a 4-game lead over Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, 4.5 over the Cubs. So we would like to win to keep pace tonight. Maybe sneak up on Pittsburgh or Cincinnati.
2 out, runner at first. 0-1 to Santiago. Breaking pitch is in there. 0-2.
Pretty good curveball from Ortiz. And when all 3 pitches are working, that's when he's at his best. He throws a good overhand curve. You don't see a lot of those anymore. He's got a very good fastball as you look at Brent Mayne. And he throws the occasional changeup. But you would say fastball best, curveball second best, and then the change.
The 2-strike pitch. And they waste 1 outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
So Benny's been swinging at a lot of high fastballs lately, and that is the strength of Ortiz. But if I'm Brent Mayne, who's looking over in the dugout, and I think he's getting a little help on the signals with the young pitcher out there, I think I'm calling for the curveball down.
Santiago open stance. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Runner on first, 2 out. And the pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Ortiz strikes out 2. The Cubs strand a man. Middle of the 2nd in San Francisco. The home-standing Giants lead 2-0. Hey, Cubs fans, Thursday, July 1st is your chance to receive Cubs Special Edition Hot Wheels car with a commemorative card. First 10,000 children 13 and under attending the Cubs Brewers game will receive a Cubs Hot Wheels set. Compliments of Target, Good Humor, Briars, and CLTV. For tickets, 312-831-CUBS. Stan Javier steps in to lead off the home half of the 2nd inning and swings and loses his bat in the process.
Well, you can use the pine tar here, Wayne. The problem is it freezes off before you come to bat. So you rub the bat with pine tar, then you go up there, and by the time you get to the batter's box, the pine tar is not sticky anymore, and the bat goes flying. They're getting a lot of real good work out of Javier. He's hitting .315, 281 from the left side where he hits tonight, 385 from the right side, and that's where most of his power is.
And he bunts it foul. He's down to the count, no balls and 2 strikes. He's the son of Julian Javier, the Cardinals second baseman of the mid and late 60s. He played on a couple of World Series championship teams. 1964 with the Redbirds when they beat the Yankees in an epic 7-game series.
And Harry was calling that World Series in that season.
1 ball, 2 strikes now the count. And also in 1967 when they thankfully beat the hated Red Sox, and I think that also went 7 games.
The hated Red Sox of Jim Longberg fame.
Jim Longberg, and then he went skiing that January and broke his leg and was never the same.
A very good idea.
Did you do a lot of skiing when you were pitching?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Not a day. I was hanging by a thread in the major league.
Arnie Harris doesn't believe that story, but it's true, Arnie.
Well,
my goodness.
Wayne, have you ever heard of the vaunted Israeli ski team?
No, I can't say that I have. Up the middle, Jose Hernandez had him played perfectly. 1 away.
Arnie was a big member of that.
He skied from what, Skokie to Highland Park, right?
On a number of occasions.
1 out, nobody on for Rich Aurilia. Rich comes in at 304. The 12 homers and 40 runs batted in. He leads the team in homers, as we pointed out last night. The most homers hit by a San Francisco shortstop in one season since Chris Spire hit 15 in 1972.
And the most home runs that Aurilia has ever hit in the major leagues is 9. But he spent a lot of time in the weight room in the winter. And he certainly improved his offense, but it's cost him a little defensively. He's made 13 errors already, which is a huge total. This is normally a very good defensive team, but now they have an offensive force at shortstop in Aurilia.
The 0-1 delivery, and a swing and a miss. No balls, 2 strikes. You know, if you take a look around baseball, Steve, it's amazing that here in the 90s, the amount of production and power teams are getting out of their shortstops. You think of A-Rod up in Seattle, Jeter over in New York with the Yankees,
Garcia-Pera with the Red Sox, but it's mostly in the other league. Obviously, Barry Larkin was very much of an offensive shortstop, also a great fielder, but you don't have the big numbers guys in this league. Cal Ripken spent most of his career at shortstop, putting up prodigious numbers. In this league, we've had a lot of defensive guys at short. Not a lot of home run hitters the last 15 years.
1-2 pitch misses outside to even the count of 2-2. It used to be if you got 260 out of your shortstop and just you know, maybe a couple of doubles, you were happy, and if you had, it was a good glove man.
Well, the game has shifted into the offensive mode probably the last 10 years.
And those ballparks in the American League, wow, they are offensive. Fouled back, and it's still 2-2.
Well, that's what Chili Davis said when they accused Chili Davis of using a corked bat. And Chili Davis says, look, this is the American League. The ballparks are so small, you don't need a corked bat. You can hit them out with a regular bat.
Oh, man.
That's Chili Davis, the DH for the Yankees, having another remarkable year.
Certainly is.
And Chili is not a kid. He started out right here with the San Francisco Giants.
Well, you look at some of these guys that, you know, are having great years. Even Cal Ripken at 38 years old went 6 for 6 the other night in the game. A swing and a miss, strike 3. Aurelia is down, 2 men out. First strikeout for Tampany.
Kevin Tampany throws a good changeup, and Aurelia right over the top of it. So 1 walk, 1 strikeout, only 1 hit, unfortunately a 2-run homer. And the Cubs have some catching up to do. They trail 2-0, and the Giants have the only hit of the game.
Brent Maine at .329 with a homer, 23 runs batted in. The catcher for the Giants looks at strike 1 called as Kevin Tampany begins to settle down. We'll take a look at Tony Fernandez, 36 years old, going to be 37 on June 30th.
One of the real amazing stories in baseball.
I mean, leading the American, batting over 400, leading the American League, leading baseball in hitting for that matter. You got Ripken going to be 39 in August. Had 6 hits in a game the other night. First time since what Lance Johnson did it back in 1995. The old guys can still play.
Indeed, pretty soon they'll be getting Metamucil endorsements.
You got it. As Steve mentioned, Houston beat Montreal 5-0 tonight. 2 balls, 2 strikes the count on Brett Maine. Elsewhere in the bottom of the 8th inning, St. Louis trailing the Mets 5-2. The Mets have come around of late. Fouled back and out of play.
Well, the Mets have a lot of talent, Wayne, and it's been a mystery why they haven't been able to put it together. In fact, I think the 2 real mystery teams in baseball have been the Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Mets. Now, the Dodgers haven't shown any signs of putting it together, but the Mets are starting to play better baseball.
The 2-2 again. On the ground to Morandini. Nice backhanded stop and a clean throw to first. 1-2-3 go the Giants in the second. The end of 2. San Francisco leads 2-0. On our Discover Platinum Playback tonight, we fall back to last August at the Stick when Sammy Sosa and the Cubs Lumber Company went back to back against tonight's Giant starter Russ Ortiz. Sammy, Mark Grace, and Henry Rodriguez went yard in the 5th for starter Kevin Tampany in the Cubs' 5-homer, 8-5 win here in Frisco. The home run hat trick was the 6th in club history and is tonight's Discover Card Playback. Top of the 3rd inning, Jose Hernandez, Kevin Tampany, then the top of the order for the Cubs to face Russ Ortiz, who has retired the Cubs in order with the exception of a walk issued to Henry Rodriguez in the 2nd inning. Jose has been struggling. He leads the National League in strikeouts with 74. His average down to 252, but he has 6 homers and 20 runs batted in. The 0-1 delivery fouled back, and he's down to the count. No balls and 2 strikes. Henry is 3 for 14 his last 4 games.
And Ortiz has gotten a lot of mileage out of that high fastball. Let's see if Jose can lay off of it.
A swing and a miss, a pitch down low and away. 4th strikeout already for Russ Ortiz.
And with Jose Hernandez, the book is if you get ahead, you throw him A low breaking ball out of the zone. And Jose not able to hold up. That's strikeout number 75.
Gets anxious with a couple of strikes. Kevin Tampany, the hitter, looks at a pitch outside for ball one. No, it's not a football crowd. This is baseball weather in San Francisco. There's a strike, 1-1 on Kevin Tampany.
Wayne, you've got to be impressed with this young man's arm.
No question. Dusty Baker and Brian Sabian were saying, Brian Sabian, the general manager, Dusty, of course, the manager, with this is an excellent young prospect that they have. They're very high on him.
Well, they've got Brock, Nathan, Ortiz, and Estes, 4 guys. Early in the season, when I talked to Dusty Baker, he said that's what we're going to go with, and that will make or break our season. Now, they've got Nathan in the minor leagues, but they're waiting to call him back. He might have the best stuff of the bunch. But Ortiz is terrific, and these young guys are starting to come of age. And Ortiz has been terrific for them this year.
Tell you what, 3 years ago, Nathan wasn't even a pitcher. He was a shortstop. And yet, you're right. Whenever anyone talks to the Giants about trades, at least Brian Sabian was mentioning this, they start talking about Nathan.
Yeah, they're not going to give him up anytime soon. And you figure Kevin probably on a real cold night not wanting to swing the bat anyway, and that makes it surprising that Ortiz has gone to 3-2. Let's hope he walks him.
Here's the payoff. Swing and a miss, and gas straight down the middle. 5 strikeouts for Ortiz.
Coming into this year, the strikeout high for Ortiz was 8. He did that twice. Well, we're 2 outs through the 3rd inning, and he's got 5 already. Looked a little like George Brett.
I was going to say. Curtis Goodwin 0 for 1, grounded out to second in the 1st inning.
They're back on the right side. Might be a good time for him to lay it down. Break up this no-hitter.
1 ball, no strikes. Colorado trailing Florida 9-4 in the bottom of the 6th inning at Colorado. But of course, a 5-run deficit is like being down 2-1 when you're at Coors Field.
Well, we will see it. Talked to the Colorado advanced scout today. Trying to get all the information on the Cubs preceding that series.
It drags a bunt down the first base side. Boy, nobody there to cover. Well placed, and should be a base hit for Curtis Goodwin.
No doubt about it. There's the bunt. There's the no-hitter. And there's the first base hit of the game for the Cubs. Nice bunt by Curtis. He does this awfully well. And if they're back on the right side, he should do this all the time, because he can probably run 250 and then try to hit for the rest. Snow doesn't know whether to stay back or come get it. No way in the world Ortiz could have beaten him to the bag, even if he picked up the baseball.
So 2 out, runner on first, and Mickey Morandini, who grounded out to second in the 1st inning. JT Snow holding on the speedy Curtis Goodwin. He's the one Cub who can take a base for you. Strike 1 called on the inside portion of the plate to Mickey Morandini.
Well, if you get to 2 strikes, this is a good running situation for the Cubs, because Ortiz doesn't use a slide step, and Maine has had somewhat of a sore shoulder. So let's see if they try to run with Goodwin. Maybe where a base hit can score the run.
And toss over to first base. Ortiz not giving him anything close to his best move. Morandini hitless in his last 3 games. He's due 0 for 13. 2 out, runner on first in the pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. Giants have won 10 of their last 16. They have the 3rd best record in the National League. They've been in either 1st or 2nd in their Western Division every day this year. 1-1 delivery. Nubs it foul on the 3rd base side toward the Cubs dugout. Sammy Sosa picks it up and flips it to some of the fans in the front row.
He makes a few friends. Now let's see if they'll try to run with Curtis. He was thrown out trying to steal in his last attempt in Milwaukee, but the footing was real heavy in the infield.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Runner wasn't going. Pitches hack foul at the Giants dugout on the first base side. Still 1-2. Jim Riggleman, his team has missed the presence of a consistent leadoff hitter, especially with the injury loss of Lance Johnson for a while. And he's also tinkered with the thought of maybe moving Mark Grace ahead of Sammy Sosa in the batting order to try to get more runners on base ahead of Sosa. You know, and thinking that Henry Rodriguez now is respected enough around the league. Runner going, pitch taken for a ball, throw down to second base, and they got him. Brent Maine with a beautiful throw to the shortstop, Rich Aurelia, and the Cubs are retired in the 3rd. No runs, a base hit, no errors, and nobody left. Middle of 3 in San Francisco, 2-0 Giants. Curtis Goodwin running on a 1-2 count, cut down at second base to end the Cubs half of the 3rd.
Unfortunately, he gets no break whatsoever. It's a curveball, and he's still thrown out by plenty. So Curtis did not get a good jump. And if you can't steal on a curveball with a pitcher without a slide step, you're not taking a real good lead.
Russ Ortiz even in the count, 1 ball, 1 strike. Ortiz then the top of the order. Bernard and Miller for the Giants here in the 3rd inning. 2-0 San Francisco, and it's 1-2. Make it 2 balls and a strike. Toward the middle and under the glove of Morandini into center field. So the leadoff man aboard for the Giants here in the 3rd.
Ortiz hasn't hit very well this year, just his 4th hit. It's right back up the middle. Mickey gets a glove on it, but it sneaks under the glove and goes into center field.
And now Marvin Bernard, and this would be, you'd figure, a fairly tough guy to double up. Pretty good speed out of the batter's box from the port side. He squares the bunt, pulls the bat back. 1 ball, no strikes.
Bernard is a pretty good bunter, although he's only been called on to sacrifice once. He will try to bunt for a hit, however.
Tyler Houston's in on the grass at 3rd. Grace holds the runner at 1st. Fastball misses outside. 2 balls, no strikes.
Tyler trying to take away the bunt. Jose Hernandez playing pretty much up the middle. Getting into the danger zone in their lineup. So this becomes a pretty big out for Tapani.
The 2-0 pitch. In there for a strike call. Atlanta leading Arizona 1-0. Bottom of the 4th at the Bob in Phoenix. You like that ballpark down there?
I think it's a nice ballpark. I like it with the roof open as opposed to closed.
Swing and a miss by Bernard, even the count at 2-2.
And what I like is that baseball team. They have assembled quite a ball club with the Diamondbacks in just their 2nd year of existence. They've got some guys down there who are an offensive force. That's a real strong club.
They've added some pretty good pitching too, if you want to think about Randy Johnson. 2-2 pitch is chopped foul, first base side. You know, last year there was some disappointment. They had what, 36,000 season ticket base in their first year, and it went down to about 27,000 this year.
Well, attendance overall is down 24%. But one of the big reasons, Wayne, is not that they did anything with the ball club, but they announced a raise in ticket prices on Fan Appreciation Weekend. And that raised the ire of some folks. But then Jerry Colangelo said, we're doing it to buy a much better baseball team. And they've done just that. But some of those seats in the upper part of the stadium are real warm. And I think that has something to do with it.
2-2 pitch. He popped him up. Foul territory behind the plate. Santiago giving chase and has room to make the catch. Well, you pointed it out last night. Here at 3Com, there is an awful lot of room between home plate and the stands.
And in most ballparks, that would have been another life for Bernard. But in this park, you're out. If you're playing the corners or behind the plate, you can't give up on any pop fly. Benito has a long way to go, keeps his concentration, and makes the catch.
So 1 out, 1 on for Bill Miller. Miller flying to center in the first. Giants are leading 2-0. We're in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Pitch taken on the outside corner for called strike.
And just one more thought on the Diamondbacks. One of the reasons why they're having as good a year as they're having, they're leading the league in hitting, and they're second in the league in pitching. That's a pretty tough combination to beat.
Yeah, and they probably picked the ball up pretty well too, don't they?
Well, they're 6th in that.
Not bad. Chop foul, and Tapani ahead of the count, no balls and 2 strikes, and Bill Miller, who's hit into 5 double plays this season. Barry Bonds is on deck. You'd like to avoid him if you can.
Had a chance to talk with former Cub executive and now the vice president and assistant general manager Ned Colletti, who has a world of friends back in Chicago. And Ned has found a home out here with the Giants. He's done a great job for a real good general manager, Brian Sabian, who's done a great job of putting this team together.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Well, Ned's brother Doug, who is a banker for LaSalle in Chicago, was our statistician and still is on the Chicago Bears telecast for years, and very good friend. And there's Scott Service, another good friend, former Cub, takes the pitch outside, does Bill Miller, and the count even at 2-2. And Colletti family, quality people, great people.
And I'm sure Ned would like us to say hello to Lou Colletti if he's looking on. Lou, a pretty good baseball player in his own right.
2-2 pitch taken outside. 3 balls and 2 strikes and Bill Miller. Yeah, Lou's got to be about, I want to say, high school, maybe going toward college.
I know he's got to be taller than Ned. That's a no-brainer.
Yes, he's taller than Ned at 10. 3 balls, 2 strikes. And the payoff to Miller. Slammed it foul down the 3rd base line out of play.
Well, you'd love to see a ground ball because you'd love to see this inning end without the man in the on-deck circle coming to bat. He's hitting right around 700 against Kevin Tapani. And Kevin Tapani's a quality pitcher. So when a guy has had that kind of mastery over him, you know he is a tough customer, and Bonds is just that.
The payoff again to Miller, and it's inside, ball 4. Runners at first and second. Only 1 out, and Barry Bonds coming to the plate. Second walk issued by Tapp. Oh, brother, Barry Bonds.
Well, I had the pleasure of playing with his father, Bobby, in this same ballpark. Bobby, a member of the 30-30 Club 5 different times, but his son is a better player.
1 out, 2 on. The pitch to Bonds, in there for a strike called. Bonds, a 2-run homer in the bottom of the 1st inning, and that's the difference in this ball game at the moment.
They play Barry as a pull hitter. You got Jose Hernandez up the middle, Curtis Goodwin shading into right center.
I don't know if our director Arnie Harris can get a good shot of Barry Bonds, but that right elbow is heavily secured. Almost looks like a bionic elbow. There it is. Look at that. My goodness. Did they cut off the arm and attach something to, you know what I mean? You have that kind of surgery. Of course, there are guys, including I think it's Biggio for Houston, has his
left elbow is the one that got arm surgery on it, but the right elbow is padded because he doesn't want to take any inside fastballs and lose time. But you're right, Wayne, and that's one of the things that we've talked about many times is hitters padding themselves up
to take a pitch
to get closer to the plate, so they don't have to worry about getting hit and taking away the outside corner, which used to be where most pitchers would go to keep the ball in the ballpark.
1 ball, 2 strikes, and he popped him up. on the infield foul territory, and the third baseman Tyler Houston calls off Santiago, makes the catch, and Bonds is retired, 2 men down.
Well, now one more man to dodge in the middle of the threesome that's done Kevin Tapani so much damage. He got by Bonds, and a good effort by Tyler Houston. Knowing this would be a very tough play for Santiago, Houston didn't give up on it, and eventually it's a much easier play for a third baseman facing the play. He took it away.
Well, Jeff Kent, the hitter, fly to right field in the first. 0 for 1 here tonight. Chip Caray talked about it last night. Kent knocked in 120 runs for the second time in his career last season, and becomes only the second baseman in baseball history to accomplish that feat twice in his career. Rogers Hornsby being the other, and he did it 5 times.
Well, Kent's going to benefit now from Bonds' presence in the lineup. When he was out, a lot of the offensive fireworks were provided by Kent, but he couldn't drive in as many runs. There weren't as many guys on base.
1 ball, 1 strike.
He's not a guy that's going to hit 40 or 45 home runs, but he is a prodigious run producer, and having Bonds on ahead of him certainly helps.
31 home runs last season, 128 knocked in. 1 ball and 1 strike. 2 on, 2 out. Bottom of the third, and the pitch outside. The count runs to 2-1.
I would be careful inside to Kent because of the way the Cubs are defending him. Henry's given him the whole left field line. They're giving him left center, and they're shading him toward right center. So this would pretty much tell you that they're going to try to stay away from him.
Probably with good reason. 2-1 delivery, and he dumps it into right field in front of Sammy Sosa. Base hit. Here comes Ortiz. They're waving him home, and the throw is off the mark. And the Giants lead at 3-0. Moving to third base, Bill Miller. Run-scoring single for Jeff Kent.
I'm not sure if Sammy got the best break on this ball because Sonny Jackson wasn't sure if he was going to send Ortiz or not. He watched the way Sammy went after this ball and how he set up for the throw, and only then did he wave him. So Kent drives in runs number 47, and you see Ortiz now. He's taking a look at Jackson, and now he sees, after that just slight pause, Jackson giving him the go-ahead. Now watch Sammy. Right here is when Sonny decides he's going to send him. Had Sammy come up firing, he probably wouldn't have sent him.
So still 2 on. Runners at the corners now with 2 out, and JT Snow. Snow grounded out to second to end the first inning. Tapani and the Cubs down 3-0 in the bottom of the third. Good pitch there on the inside corner for a strike hold. Snow hitting .330 with 10 doubles, 2 triples, 8 homers, 37 knocked in over his last 49 games. And the 0-1 delivery hit sharply to second, but right there is Mickey Morandini, and he retires the side. But the Giants come up with a run on a couple of hits. They lead 2 at the end of 3. It is 3-0 San Francisco. Wade Larrivee, Steve Stone back at 3Com, Candlestick Point. Stoney, let's take a look at how your lug nuts and the rest of the teams in the Cubs organization made out yesterday. Our Illinois Lottery Hit It Big report.
Iowa lost. West Tennessee lost. But there's some good news on the horizon. A rain out for Daytona. But the lug nuts with Aesop Choi doing a pretty good job killed Clinton.
Aesop Choi, how about that?
And Corey Patterson also had a very big night. So they're doing real well, those lug nuts.
3 for 5 last night, Aesop.
Well, his stroke was getting a little long, was the scouting report, but now they've shortened it up somewhat. And Titus Meadows, 5th in the league in hitting with .330. Corey Patterson had 3 RBIs, 2 for 3 last night.
He's the big prospect down there, right? #1 draft choice.
Along with Aesop Choi, both of them. So they're doing pretty good.
You know, I thought that was all a put on, that you were following Lansing, but you know that club like a book, don't you?
Well, there's a lot of talent down there, and we should see them 2 or 3 years from now. I also have a hat, Wayne.
No kidding.
So you know that. And it's one of the great logos of all time.
Is it really?
A smiling lug nut.
What does a smiling lug nut look like?
I'll show you when we go back home. I'll show you the hat.
Bring it to the game next
displayed.
Saturday. 2 balls and 1 strike on Mickey Morandini, who was at the plate when Curtis Goodwin was thrown up at Brent Maine, trying to steal second base in the 3rd. Russ Ortiz, yes indeed, you've got to be impressed with this kid. 7-4, 3.38 ERA. 2 balls and 1 strike. I'm sorry, 3-1 the count. San Diego leading Pittsburgh 3-2. That game in the bottom of the 5th inning in San Diego. Down the coast, Philadelphia, the Dodgers tied at 1 apiece. The ball game, I believe, in the 5th inning, top of the 5th.
And the Dodgers continue to be a mystery team. They're 4 under 500, 9 games in back of the Diamondbacks.
Well, they hired Davey Johnson to be their manager, and I don't think there's any question Davey's one of the premier managers in baseball. And they bring on Kevin Brown at a tremendous price. On the ground to the shortstop, Aurelia. 1 away. But Steve, did they really do much to shore up some of the other holes they had on that team? And that organization is not producing players the way it used to, it doesn't seem.
I think one of the big factors is the inability to get any power hitting left-handers in that lineup. They thought they might have had it with Todd Hundley. He's really not back 100% after the arm surgery. Dave Hollinsworth was supposed to be, after his Rookie of the Year season, a force in the lineup. He really hasn't worked out quite as well as they thought. And so it's been a right-hand dominated lineup, falling prey to the better right-hand pitchers in the league. And then the pitching staff, which they thought would carry this team, hasn't really done it. Chan Ho Park has given up a plethora of home runs this year, and Brown has been good,
but not dominant the way he had been.
But not dominant.
Sammy Sosa, strikeout victim his first time up, takes an off-speed pitch up high for ball 1.
Now they want to move Darren Dreifert back to the bullpen. So that experiment, at least for the moment, didn't work. They're having all kinds of problems.
1 ball, no strikes, the count on Sosa. Good cut there.
Well, Ortiz is just staying up with that fastball, and Sammy can't lay off it. And at least for the moment, he can't catch up with it.
1 ball and 1 strike on Sammy Sosa. Cubs have managed but 1 hit off Russ Ortiz in the first 3 1/3 innings. That's dumped foul and out of play. The Pattons and Gaffneys are here to see the game all the way from Roseburg, Oregon. A long way from here, or?
Right up the road.
I thought it was just up the road, a fur piece.
There's a Cub fan, and a smart one at that. He is bundled up.
Orioles beat the White Sox, cooled the White Sox tonight 3-2. Albert Bell, his 12th homer. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sosa down on strikes for the 2nd time tonight, and that is strikeout number 6 for Russ Ortiz.
Another fastball. Maine wants it low and away, and that's exactly where Ortiz gets it, right about the belt level, and just throws it by Sammy. So far, Russ Ortiz with that fastball around 94, 95, dominating the Cubs.
Mark Grace fly to right his first trip, 0 for 1 tonight. Looks at a pitch for strike 1. Eight of 10 years in his career, Grace has finished at 300 or better at the plate over the course of a season. Rangers beat the Red Sox 4-1.
Mike Morgan winning for the first time in a while after a very hot start.
1 ball, 2 strikes, the count of Mark Grace.
And the Mariners defeated the Indians behind Ken Griffey's 25th home run. Junior keeps saying he's not a home run hitter, Wayne.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that quote when I read it. 1-2 pitch. Well, if he's not, who is?
I guess he's convincing a lot of folks. The Tigers and Dean Palmer hitting his 18th defeated the Athletics 8-3.
In the original American League bandbox, Tiger Stadium.
Well, that is a good place to hit. And Dean Palmer is making the most of it this year.
Always has been a good place to hit. A 1-2 pitch in the dirt, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. That's the last year for Tiger Stadium, too, this year. The Royals beat the Blue Jays 6-5. Giambi his first home run. Tony Muser trying to hang in there, and the big club down the Angels 4-1. Derek Jeter 2 for 3 with a run batted in.
Well, he's really struggling, isn't he?
How'd you like to be Derek Jeter? You're only hitting 3-something. You're only one of the best shortstops in the game today. You only have New York as your neighborhood. Come on.
Just those 3 young shortstops in the American League.
You got $5 million in arbitration, you know, for this year.
Rodriguez, Jeter, and Garcia Parra. Tough choice between those guys.
Payoff to Grace. He lifts a fly ball to center field. And Marvin Bernard on the retreat makes the catch, and the Cubs go quietly in the 4th. Middle of 4 in San Francisco. Giants leading 3-0.
WGN News at noon.
Well, the Harris fan club in attendance tonight.
Indeed, some of his younger fans, I might add.
That's right. That's the junior members.
Stan Javier, Rich Aurelia, Brent Bain to face Kevin Tampany. 3-0 Giants as we go to the bottom of the 4th inning.
The way Russ Ortiz is throwing, Kevin Tampany could ill afford to give the Giants any more.
This is not the same guy, the same Russ Ortiz who gave up back-to-back-to-back homers against the Cubs last year here at 3-count.
And the Cubs had a meeting. The hitters had a meeting before the game today. And they talked about not trying to hit the ball out of the park all the time. Well, they've been successful in that tonight, Wayne. But they only have 1 hit, and that was a bunt.
1 ball, 1 strike. 2 balls and a strike now, and Stan Javier. Javier played in 37 games in left field for the injured Barry Bonds this season and helped keep the Giants afloat. Of the 47 games that Bonds missed while on the DL, the Giants won 25 of them. So they were 25-22, which I think they took a lot of solace in saying, hey, listen, we did relinquish first place in the division to Arizona, but survived the loss of Bonds for a while.
Well, they thought if they could just play 500 with Bonds on the shelf, they'd be in pretty good shape. They did a little better than that, but I think that's a testament to the resiliency of this team. The fact that your #1 player, and to them, Barry Bonds means approximately what Sammy Sosa means to the Cubs. Imagine having to go through 47 without Sammy. I think it would be very difficult. But F.P. Santangelo, the man you're looking at, had a hand in that. He's done a good job as a swing man for Dusty Baker.
Payoff pitch is fouled back, and they'll do it again. Devil Rays fell to the Twins 8-5. Reds beat the Brewers 7-1.
Greg Vaughn hitting his 16th homer.
Astros, as we mentioned, Shane Reynolds, complete game, shutout victory. Right back at Tampany, knocks it down, locates the ball, throws to Grace in time. Boy, sounded like it hit Kevin like a thud.
I think that he's going to be okay. That was on a bounce. And already pitching with a broken wrist. He figures he keep this one away from the wrist and knock it down with his leg.
Tampany able to pick up and make the play in time to retire Javier. Now Rich Aurelia, strikeout victim in the 2nd inning, to face Tampany. Kevin doesn't throw the split finger pitch as much as he used to. Matter of fact, not nearly as much as he used to. But he's become an excellent pitcher. Uses several of the other pitchers in his repertoire since returning to the mound from the finger surgery that he's had a couple of years ago. He went 33-14, 59 games.
So without the presence of a lot of split fingers, he'll throw it just on occasion. He's come up with a much better changeup, and his control has been almost letter perfect since putting on a Cub uniform.
When you talk about a starter who has an under 3 ERA at this day and age,
Pretty good.
That's awesome. I mean, this is not the age of 1968 when Bob Gibson goes a 1.85 ERA or whatever.
112 that year.
112 or whatever.
And that's when they lowered the mound.
Yeah.
Sure, why give the pitchers an advantage?
1 ball, 2 strikes the count on Aurelia. Talking about Gibson and his former team, the Cardinals fell to the Mets 6-2 tonight.
Where Roger Cedeno has had an opportunity to play, and he certainly has made the most of it.
1-2 pitch and a base hit toward the gap, left center field. Henry Rodriguez over to cut it off with a backhanded stab, and holding up after making a big turn is Rich Aurelio with a 1-out single. It's the 4th hit off of Tapani.
Henry did a good job of getting that ball in the gap. That looked like it was going to be 2 bases. Aurelia hits this ball hard, and you can see Henry hustling to it. He gets rid of it in a hurry. Aurelia had thoughts of a double, but had to go back when Henry made a pretty good throw.
So 1 out, 1 on, and Brent Mayne, the catcher, steps to the plate. He grounded out to second in the 2nd inning. Mayne has grounded into 9 double plays this season. So if you're thinking of a twin killing to get out of the inning, this is the candidate. No balls and 1 strike. Grace holds on the runner at first. Cub fans hopeful the Cubbies can turn around this losing streak. And the 0-1 delivery, swing and a miss. Afternoon game tomorrow, 3 o'clock Central Time. Our start. Cubs are in a stretch where they play 26 of 35 on the road this season, leading up to the All-Star break in this first half of the season. Foul back and out of play, and as we mentioned earlier, the Cubs have lost 7 of their last 8 games, and 3 teams now ahead of them in the division.
Well, no ground to be gained on Cincinnati, none on Houston. There's just ground to be saved to those 2 teams, having already won. And San Diego, a 2-run lead now over Pittsburgh.
4-2, bottom of the 6th at San Diego. Padres on top of the Pirates. Wave and a miss by Mayne and a pitch down low. Brent Mayne goes down, and he is the 2nd out of the inning, and that'll bring up Russ Ortiz, 2 out with a runner on first. 2nd strikeout for Tapani.
Good changeup by Kevin Tapani. This one just drops out of the zone, and Mayne goes down.
Ortiz singled to right and scored for the Giants in the 3rd. Aurelia the runner at first, and the pitch is inside for ball 1. Grace holds on the runner at first, and the pitch is hit sharply foul past the 3rd base coaching box. So sharply that Sonny Jackson, the 3rd base coach, didn't even make an offer at it.
And one of the ball dudes.
He's been struggling. I think he's lost a step, Stoney. He was struggling last night, too.
Well, he looks a lot like Ron Peronowski's brother. We'll watch it again, and watch this play.
You got
he
to know how to
goes
play
over.
the angles.
You know, he hasn't worked on playing those caroms.
Right under the glove. My goodness. 1-1 pitch.
That's Dick Leland, Wayne. He's 71 years old. It says on his profile, 71-year-old bald dude from Sonoma. Played baseball at Amherst College.
Fly ball left field, but Henry Rodriguez is there, and he backhands it and drops it. Rounding 3rd, Aurelia. He'll hold up there into 2nd base. Russ Ortiz.
I think that Henry lost it in the lights. He saw that ball all the way, but it was a line drive. And sometimes when it doesn't get above the lights, you just lose it. Henry went over, thought he was going to make the catch, and in the end, right here, you can see him just shying away. He lost the ball in the lights. It hit off the heel of the glove. And they still have not made a determination yet It goes as a double.
So Ortiz is 2 for 2. The Giants have runners at second and third with 2 out, and Marvin Bernard at the top of the order steps to the plate. Fouled out to the catcher Santiago in the third. He's 0 for 1. He walked and scored in the first. Bounding ball toward the middle, and unable to make the play on it is Morandini, and a run scores. Moving to third base is Russ Ortiz. Aurelia plates the 4th run of the game for the Giants.
That one is going to be ruled a base hit also, and the defense has certainly let down Kevin Tapani here in the 4th. This bounder over the middle, and it comes off with some spin. Mickey going up the middle to make the play and cannot come up with it. This one probably should have scored 2, but Ortiz doesn't get the best break off second base, and Sonny Jackson holds him at third.
Bill Miller 0 for 1. Fly to center in the first. He walked in the third. Check swing grounder. Tapani has this one, and the throw to Grace in time. The inning is over, but the Giants come up with a run on 3 base hits. They lead 2, and at the end of 4, it is 4-0 San Francisco.
Bear, Sunday at 4 on WGN.
Perhaps the fog beginning to roll in here at 3Com. Candlestick Point, San Francisco. Wayne Larrivee, Steve Stone. Great to have you with us tonight. Cubs have dug themselves a hole, Stoney, down 4-0.
So far for the Cubs, this one has all the excitement of a quilting bee. Hopefully the offense can come to life, because so far they've done nothing against Russ Ortiz, Wayne.
Well, and as far as the Cubs are concerned, they've got to put some production on the board. They have been unable to make a run at these Giants, and let's see what happens here as we move to the 5th inning.
This is our first look at Russ Ortiz this year, and he is as billed. An overpowering right-hander with a very good curveball, and so far the Cubs have been able to do very little. Just a bunt single by Curtis Goodwin, and he was quickly erased trying to steal second base. And there is Peter McGowan, the owner of this ball club, and just a terrific guy. I had a long conversation with him. He is really excited about the brand new ballpark. 65 luxury suites. They've sold a lot of season tickets, 25,000 already. They're only slated to sell 28. And it's going to be a beautiful ballpark down at China Basin.
Henry Rodriguez looks at strike 1 called. Henry walked in the second. Peter McGowan grew up in New York as a Giants fan. Chopped toward the middle. Boy, they had it played well. Aurelia behind the second base back makes the play in time. 1 away.
Well, positioning is everything, and they keep charts on just exactly where guys hit it when they hit it in the air and where guys hit it when they hit it on the ground. They're playing Henry up the middle, and you're right, Wayne, they did play him perfectly. Normally this would have been a base hit, but Aurelia crosses over to the first base side of second and makes the play.
So 1 out, nobody on for Tyler Houston. The Cubs have managed 1 hit here tonight in the first 4 1/3 innings, and that was a bunt single by Curtis Goodwin. 1 ball, no strikes to Tyler Houston, who was a strikeout victim in the second. You're mentioning Peter McGowan, grew up a Giants fan, went to Stanford and graduated from Stanford in 1964. Received his master's degree from Oxford University. There's a fly ball, well hit right field, and it is off the wall. Javier has to chase it down, and the Cubs have their first double of the ball game. Tyler Houston. A 1-out double by Houston, and the Cubs have a runner in scoring position.
Tyler gets a curveball, only this one hangs up there for him. And he chases Javier all the way back to the wall. He makes the leap. Not quite tall enough. And coming right at you from our right field camera, Javier goes back to the wall, and this one bounds away. So the Cubs trying to break through here with a runner in scoring position.
1 out, 1 on for Benito Santiago, a strikeout victim in the second. 4-0 Giants, 4 runs on 6 hits for the Giants. Pretty good fastball right there at 91 miles an hour on the outside portion of the plate.
And the bullpen up and going for the Cubs. Doug Creek throwing in the pen in case they get down to the spot occupied by Kevin Tapani.
Jose Hernandez on deck, then Tapani would follow. Gary Gaetti getting loose. He'd probably be the pinch hitter if they get to Tapani's spot. No balls, 1 strike. And it's 1-1. I was saying about Peter McGowan. He graduated from Stanford. He sent a letter as a student at Stanford to Giants executive Chubb Feeney asking for a job. Feeney advised him to follow other pursuits.
Well, he did with Safeway.
With Safeway. And then he came back to his original intention. And that letter hangs on the wall of his office. 1-1 pitch. Breaking ball. We waited nicely on it, but it's a fly ball, kind of a soft fly ball to center field, and Marvin Bernard puts it away, 2 men down. Let's step away once again for station identification.
This is America's #1 sports station, WGN, Chicago.
Back at 3Com Park in San Francisco, Wayne Larrivee, Steve Stone. Arnie Harris is our director. Pete Toma, the commander, is our producer. Mark Brady assisting in the truck. Got the A-team out here.
Indeed.
WGN News follows our game tonight.
And Brett Main out to talk with his young starter, Russ Ortiz. Jose Hernandez has the fate of Kevin Tapani in his hands. If he gets a base hit, it will be Gary Gaetti.
2 out, runner in scoring position. That's Tyler Houston. Jose Hernandez 0 for 1 here tonight. Strikeout victim in the 3rd inning. No balls and 1 strike. Jim Riggleman, as you guys talked last night, had been concerned about Jose in that some of the pitches not necessarily the pitches he's been swinging at, but some of the pitches he's been taking for strikes this season. But right now Jose just looks a little bit lost at the plate. I mean, some of the decisions he's making on pitches he's going after.
But when you're in a slump, Wayne, you sometimes take the good ones, swing at the bad ones. I think sometimes Jose starts guessing and then gets left standing there on fastballs, and that's really his strength. He starts looking for breaking balls, and he doesn't hit them all that well. And then he'll go through a streak where he'll swing at every low breaking ball out of the strike zone when he gets to 2 strikes.
And an outstanding season for the Cubs a year ago. 1 ball, 1 strike. Down low. Nice pick by Brent Main. And it's 2-1.
Well, now here's where you have to look for a fastball, because he's thrown you 3 straight breaking pitches, and you might not get it, but if you do, you should do something with it. They're playing Jose around toward right center field.
2 balls, 1 strike. And it's 3-1.
Well, he got the fastball, but it was low and out of the zone. There is Gary Gaetti, poised and ready to go. You get a pinch hit at bat.
The 3-1 pitch to Jose Hernandez. Chopped it foul, and it's 3-2.
Well, that showed you, even with a 4-run lead and 2 outs in the inning, they did not go to the fastball with Jose. They threw him another breaking ball, 3-1. Those garlic fries, Wayne, have you had any of those here?
Oh, yeah.
They'll
I tell
keep
you
the
what,
vampires away for months.
Mr. Brady had some in this booth. There will be no vampires here. I can guarantee you that. 3-2 pitch up high for ball 4, and Gary Gaetti will get to the plate.
So the night is done for Kevin Tapani. He goes 4 innings. He gives up 4 runs on 6 hits. He walks 2, and he fans 2.
Gary Gaetti is a pinch hitter this season, 0 for 7, 241 in his career as a pinch hitter. And he steps to the plate with runners at first and second and 2 men down. We're in the top of the 5th inning, and the Cubs are trailing 4-0. Fastball in tight for ball 1.
Well, you'd like to see Ortiz falling behind. as Gary Gaetti is a real good fastball hitter. Maine is giving signs to the infield. I'm not sure if he thinks a double steal is on, but if he does, there should be an investigation in this situation.
2 men down, 2 on. Cubs trailing. And the pitch to Gaetti. Swing and a miss. 89 miles per hour on that delivery. Gaetti at 189. He has gotten some big hits, however, for the Cubs, including a 2-run 9th inning homer off Mike Jackson that gave the Cubs a 5-4 come from behind win June 4th at Cleveland. On the inside corner for a called strike 2. It's 1 ball, 2 strikes.
And Gary is looking back, telling Bill Hahn that that one was inside. You can't give him that one if you're going to give him anything away.
Runners lead away from first and second. Jose Hernandez on at first. Tyler Houston at second. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Gaetti. And he fouls it back against the screen.
Dusty Baker has done another fine job with his club. He's been 2-time manager of the year. Only a handful of managers in the history of this game have accomplished that feat. And Jim Riggleman has got to be concerned about this offense. It's got to shake out of it soon.
1-2 and the pitch down low. 2 balls, 2 strikes. I mentioned Gary Gaetti. He's batting less than a 200. He's about 180 something, as we put on the screen for you a moment ago. But the point being, he has 26 hits and 24 RBIs. So almost as many runs batted in as base hits. And the pitch, swing and a miss at a high fastball, and the side is retired. For the Cubs, no runs, a base hit, no errors. They strand 2, middle of 5 at 3 count. The Giants lead 4-0.
Saturday at 2 on WGN.
Hey, Cubs fans, Wednesday, June 30th is your chance to receive a Sammy Sosa Headliners limited edition with a commemorative card. The first 10,000 children 13 and under attending the Cubs Brewers game will receive a Sammy Sosa Headliners, compliments of Arby's. For tickets, 312-831-CUBS. Doug Creek is the new pitcher in the ball game for the Chicago Cubs. And as we start the bottom of the 5th, Barry Bonds hits a towering pop fly into center field. Curtis Goodwin makes the catch, 1 away.
Doug Creek on for the 3rd time as a Cub. The ERA 9. Just 3 innings of work, but the 6 walks have to worry you. Hopefully he will get the ball over the plate. The Cubs trail by 4. And there's only 4 opportunities to go for them.
Here's Jeff Kent. He is 1 for 2 with a run-scoring single in the 3rd. Giants scored 2 in the 1st on a prodigious shot off the bat of Barry Bonds. They scored another run in the 3rd inning on Kent's base hit. And yet another in the 4th on a Marvin Bernard infield base hit. And that's where we stand, 4-0 Giants. Creek's last outing earlier this week at Milwaukee, 1 inning. He walked 3. No balls and 2 strikes on Jeff Kent. And that's where he really had trouble finding the plate. Stoney, as you mentioned.
He walked the first 3 men he faced in that one. And this is one of his former teams. He played for St. Louis in the big leagues for the Giants. Last year played in Japan. Now getting a chance with the Cubs after a good stint at Iowa.
No balls, 2 strikes. Pitch to Jeff Kent, misses outside. It's 1-2. 13 AAA games at Iowa, 10 starts, 4-0, 2.47 earned run average for Doug Creek. 1 ball, 2 strikes, the count on Kent. 1 out, nobody on. And he rifles this one foul down the left field line, out of play.
Kevin Tapani, a short stint tonight after 4 innings, down 4 runs, left for a pinch hitter. Not the way he wanted this particular start to work out.
1 ball, 2 strikes. And the pitch to Kent. 2-2.
Tomorrow it's going to be Sean Estes against Kyle Farnsworth. And the reason why Terry Mulholland is keeping the chart could be that with a day game tomorrow, Kyle Farnsworth might have gone back to the hotel.
2-2 pitch. Chopped to short. Hernandez. 2 men down. Does that happen often where they'll let the pitcher go back a little bit early?
Well, I think if they have a late game, and this one was a half hour later, not knowing exactly when it would end, you know you've got a pretty short turnaround with a day game tomorrow, so you probably want him to go back, get a good night's rest, not worry about it too much.
2 out, nobody on for J.T. Snow, who's 0 for 2. He's grounded out to second a couple of times, and he swings and misses.
Glen Allen Hill has been playing a little bit more. In fact, they've used the outfield of Rodriguez, Hill, with Sosa in center quite a bit. However, this is a very big outfield here. And Jim Riggleman doesn't want to use Sosa in center field all that often. But if the offensive woes continue, you should see the outfield of Rodriguez, Sosa, and Hill a bit more.
1 ball, 1 strike. Change speeds on him, misses up high, and it's 2-1. Well, it should help that the Cubs are slated to play, if I'm not mistaken, a majority of their games at home in the second half of the season.
Yes, very much weighted to the home side the second half.
And it'll be warm in Chicago at some point this summer. It may not be yet, but at some point it will be. And that ball will start sailing out of Wrigley Field. You know, it's funny. I was talking to Jim Riggleman before the game tonight, and he was mentioning this is a club that does not have a great deal of offensive versatility. They can't really manufacture runs the way some teams can. They're built for power. They're built to knock you out with a 3-run homer. Ball 4, J.T. Snow's aboard.
I can send along a happy birthday to Felix Heredia, who turns 23 today. Cub left-hander doing a real good job out of the pen. You know, we talked about Glen Allen Hill starting, and in his starts this year, and he's made 21 of them, he's hitting .444. Talking with Barry Bonds, who was a teammate of Glen Allen Hill here with San Francisco, he said he knew the big guy could hit, and he's getting his opportunity to show that with the Cubs.
A 2-out walk to J.T. Snow, and Stan Javier to the plate, 0 for 2. Lined back to Tapani, who made the play to Grace in the 4th inning. There's a strike on the outside corner. I'd like to wish Diane Kula from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, happy birthday today. A true blue Cubs fan. Looking in here tonight. Cubs will try to make a come-from-behind win, Diane, for your birthday. The 0-1 delivery, way outside. 1 ball, 1 strike.
That fan is ready to go. She brought her glove to the park.
One and 1 on the hitter, Stan Javier. And the pitch from Creek. This is a little bit low and inside. So after retiring Bonds and Kent in rather short order, a walk to J.T. Snow and Stan Javier, 0 for 2 tonight. Now ahead of the count. 2 balls and 1 strike. Move to first base. Snow did not have much of a lead with 2 outs. I doubt he has any designs of trying to take second.
Well, he's 0 for 2 in stolen bases, so that would be the least of my worries. Right, Doug Creek.
San Diego leading Pittsburgh 4-2, bottom of the 8th inning at Qualcomm in San Diego. This may be trouble. Dumped into right field. Sammy Sosa coming on. Can't get to it in time. Big turn at second base by the runner J.T. Snow, and he gets back safely. Stan Javier with a 2-out single and runners at first and second. Still 2 out, and Rich Aurelia comes to the plate. He singled and scored in the fourth. He's 1 for 2, and Jim Riggleman, boy, he's got to keep his ball club close. He's hoping these middle relievers like Creek can keep this ball club close in this game. They're down 4-0 in the 5th inning. Giants trying to stage a 2-out rally that might be a knockout punch the way things have gone lately.
Especially the way Ortiz is throwing, although the Cubs will head to the top of the order in the 6th inning. Lee Goodwin, Morandini, and Sosa. If anybody gets a base hit, it'll be Mark Grace.
Runners lead away from first and second, and the pitch to Aurelia. Strike one call. Here are the runners. Javier at first, Snow at second. 2 men down. Freak trying to get past Aurelia and get the Cubs out of this inning. Way outside. Nice grab by Santiago. 1 ball, 1 strike. Brent Maine is on deck. One and 1, 2 out, 2 on. Misses wide again.
Just a shade outside.
And as Bob Uecker would say, just a bit outside. As it goes over the backstop. That movie Major League was a classic. An absolute classic. 2 balls, 1 strike. Well hit left field, left center field, but backing up Goodwin on the warning track makes the catch. Freak and the Cubs escape. No runs, a base hit. No errors and 2 left. Heading to the 6th, where the Cubs will have the top of the order coming to the 4. It's 4-0 Giants.
All right, everybody. Store today.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Chicago Cubs and may not be reproduced nor retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Chicago Cubs.
Well, that couple just got engaged during that commercial break. See, you never know what you're going to miss at the ballpark.
Well, you take your eyes off the stands for 1 minute, and that's what happens.
Well, let's take a look at the Cubs' upcoming schedule, brought to you by Pepsid AC.
It's the Giants for 2 more. Then it's on to Colorado after the off day on Monday. We take on the Rockies Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. But, of course, you can't see that on Thursday. And that is the upcoming schedule for the new Pepsid AC Chewable. And in right field, Armando Rios checks into the game as Curtis Goodwin leads it off.
Stan Javier has moved over from right field to left field in place of Barry Bonds.
I think that arm might be stiffening up somewhat on Bonds, who has done enough damage to the Cubs for a while.
Well, his 2-run homer in the first inning has given Russ Ortiz all the runs he would need to this point. He does have a couple of extras. The Giants are leading 4-0. Dusty Baker looking on. Curtis Goodwin, 1 for 2, has one of the 2 Chicago hits here tonight. A bunt single in the 3rd. Fouls it back, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike.
Well, it makes you pretty happy if you're Dusty Baker. You know that you've got a real solid bullpen if Ortiz does falter. That's been one of the strengths of this team. One of the best bullpens in the league, and they've got Rob Nen at the end, and he can be close to unhittable at times, as the Cubs saw last night.
Nen got the win last night. He also leads the National League with 17 saves. John Wetland down at Texas leads the entire sport in saves. Major leagues, that is. A line drive right up the middle. A head-hunting line drive by Curtis Goodwin, and he has his second hit of the game. So the Cubs get their leadoff man on. Perhaps some late heroics here in San Francisco.
Fortunately, Ortiz is able to get down. This is a line drive right back at him. And a hard hit ball.
Mickey Morandini 0 for 2 tonight. Goodwin leads away from first, being held on by J.T. Snow. Hit sharply. Snow steps on first. Now they go to second. The tag not in time. Sliding in safely is Goodwin. Morandini retired to Snow.
Well, let's see if Curtis is okay. I think he is. He slid late, knowing there was going to be a play. Now he comes away a little gingerly. It was a good effort by Snow, who's a Gold Glover at first base. He breaks off the bag, has to go back to his left, stepping on first, throwing to second, and Curtis able to beat the play, but not by much.
He just came up high on the bag. Watch the slide again.
A good effort by Snow. And Curtis looked behind him, knowing now there was a play, has to speed it up.
So 1 out, runner in scoring position for Sammy Sosa. He has struck out twice here tonight.
Well, now maybe that fastball has lost some of the zip, and this could be the time when Sammy hits the ball real hard. But he's got to lay off the high heat.
It's also third time through the order. 1 out, 1 on for the Cubs in the 6th. Breaking pitch misses. Now look at Sosa's numbers. Cubs trying to put an end to their June swoon. It's amazing to me. I didn't quite remember this from last year. That's a strike, and it's 1-1. Despite the June that Sammy Sosa had a year ago, Stoney, the Cubs in the month of June were under 500.
Well under 500.
Sammy only hit about 20 home runs that month, didn't he?
Yep, but it was a tough month.
12 and 15 for the month for the Cubs last June. 2 balls and 1 strike. Well, we mentioned that the Marlins, who were leading the Rockies like about 9-4 in the 6th inning, that might not hold up. And it didn't.
Todd Helton hit the late home run, and the young man is starting to heat it up just in time for the Cubs' arrival in town. But Vinny Castilla is still struggling.
2 balls and 1 strike to Sammy. Swing and a miss, and it's even at 2-2.
Now that fastball is only 91. But it's in a spot where Sammy can't catch up to it, and that's upstairs. And this is the one Sammy's got to lay off of. With an uppercut swing, it's real tough to hit the ball, let her high. And Sammy has swung through a bunch of them from Ortiz tonight. You would have to think he would go up there one more time.
Two balls and 2 strikes. 1 out, 1 on. Top of the 6th inning. Here's the pitch. Check swing foul, first base side. One of the things that helped Sammy Sosa hit 300 last year, Steve, was that he became a much better hitter with 2 strikes. For the first time in his career, he hit over 200 with 2 strikes on him.
Well, this year he's hitting 240 with 2 strikes. Before last year, he was hitting 160 with 2 strikes. Last year, he hit about 202. So he makes strides in that respect.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Sammy lays off the pitch well outside. And the count fills to 3-2. Curtis Goodwin, good speed aboard at second base. Cubs are down 4-0. We're in the top of the 6th inning.
Well, you can't really guess too much with 2 strikes, but you would have to think he'd go back to the high fastball. The
payoff to Sosa. chopped on the ground short. They're going to third. The tag is in time to cut down Goodwin. 2 men down. Boy, really it goes to Miller to get Goodwin at the top of the play.
And the base running rule is if the ball is hit in front of you, you can't go. You have to stop and make him make the play to first base. You're already in scoring position. And you see the ball is hit in front of him. There's no chance for Goodwin to beat this play. This is just a bad base running effort. And the tag leaves Curtis talking in a lot higher tone.
I'd say so. Mark Grace with 2 out and Sosa aboard at first. Grace 0 for 2. He's flied out twice here tonight. Was robbed of a home run last night by Barry Bonds. Off-speed pitch and a wave and a miss. Mark way out in front of that one. Ortiz has handcuffed the Cubs on 3 hits here tonight. He has struck out 7. And the 0-1 to Grace. 1 ball, 1 strike. Like to say hi to Stephanie Tour, who's apparently biting her nails in Payson, Arizona, hoping the Cubbies will come back and win this game. She and her son Shane are huge Cub fans. Meanwhile, the count 1-2 on Mark Grace. And I'd like to welcome all the information and greetings we get on the internet. Cubs TV at interaccess.com. 1-2 the count on Grace. Sammy Sosa at first, 2 men down. We're in the top of the 6th inning in San Francisco. Ortiz to Grace. A little bit late on that one. Fouls it to the stands on the third base side. Came inside on Mark that time and jammed him a bit. San Diego leading Pittsburgh 4-2. Pirates batting top of the 9th inning down in San Diego. Phillies have a 2-1 edge on the Dodgers. That game's in the 3rd.
Probably means Trevor Hoffman's coming on to close it down. Usually that's the end of that.
1-2 pitch. Checked his swing. They appeal to third and no swing. Grace lives for another pitch. It's 2-2.
Fans here in San Francisco not very happy with that call. But Tom Hallion says that Mark Grace did not go around. We'll take the decision.
Oh, we'll definitely gladly take it. 2 balls and 2 strikes with 2 out. And the 2-2 pitch way inside. Full count of 3-2. Well, Ortiz has gone to a full count on each of the last 2 batters he's faced.
And now you'd think JT Snow would move him back well in back of Sammy Sosa. You don't mind. He's going to run anyway. 3-2 with 2 outs. So you can't hold him close. You have to move back to get a better angle on the ground ball.
The payoff with 2 outs. Sosa going. Pitch is fouled back and out of play by Grace.
Last night's starter Terry Mulholland did a very good job. Unfortunately, got a no decision, but he threw well enough to win it.
And the Cubs needed that start, Stoney. They had been struggling in the starting capacity for about a week and a half prior to that start. Been averaging about 5 innings a start over that stretch. The payoff again to Grace. Sosa going. Ground ball, second base. Jeff Kent to JT Snow, and the Cubs are gone in the 6th. No runs, a base hit. The Cubs strand a man. Middle of 6 at 3Com in San Francisco. The Giants leading 4-0.
I started Deep Space Nine.
Sunday at noon on WGN.
Brent Maine, the pitcher scheduled, and then the top of the order for the Giants in the bottom of the 6th inning. Maine 0 for 2 facing Creek for the first time tonight. Fouls it back and out of play. Kevin Tampany, as Steve mentioned, went 4 innings, gave up 4 runs on 6 hits, including a home run. Only the 4th home run he's given up this season in 75 2/3 innings.
Over 22,000 people in attendance tonight. That despite the fact that Bob Dylan and Paul Simon are in concert in town here.
You can only get so many into the Cow Palace, can't you? Not
sure.
that I know that's where they're
Not
playing.
sure where that is.
I'll never forget. I remember when I was a kid, these Golden State Warriors and Rick Barry played an NBA championship series in the Cow Palace.
That's it.
We couldn't believe it. 1-1 delivery. Pitch is hit in the air. Left field. Henry is there, and Rodriguez puts it away. 1 down. Hey, the Chicago Cubs and their wives invite you to join them at Maggiano's restaurant on July 21st. From 7 to 9 p.m. as they host their 3rd annual cocktail reception and auction. The money raised this year will benefit the Boys and Girls Clubs of Chicago, Cubs Care, and Child Help USA. Many unique auction items available, and you'll have a chance to mingle with your Cubbies. Last year's event was a lot of fun. This year promises to be even better. For information, 773-404-CUBS.
Ortiz gets a nice hand from the crowd, both for his pitching and his hitting.
He's 2 for 2. Swing and a miss, strike 1. Ortiz a single to right in the 3rd, and then doubled off the glove of Henry Rodriguez, who lost the ball in the lights in the 4th inning. No balls and 2 strikes. Final now. San Diego has defeated Pittsburgh 4-2. But both Cincinnati and Houston have won their games tonight. 2 of the 3 teams ahead of the Cubs in the division. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count of Russ Ortiz. Yeah, the capricious winds of Candlestick Point. 1-2 delivery way outside. Boy, I tell you something, when Creek misses, he leaves no doubt about it.
No, it's not tantalizing. It's well off the corner. But tonight he's had pretty good control overall.
You know, I was just thinking, Steve, if he gets through this inning without incident, this will certainly go a long way to helping his confidence a little bit. This would be a very strong outing for him if he can retire the Giants here. Into center field. Goodwin started back. Now has to come in. Long run, and the ball hangs up and drops in.
That was not a good play by Curtis Goodwin. He didn't get a break on that ball, and the wind knocked it down in front of him. It fell for a base hit. So Ortiz now 3 for 3.
Man, that thing backs up like a sand wedge.
Off the end of the bat, and Curtis breaks back and then finally does break in and just misjudges it.
Yeah, good look. There's some backspin on that thing.
This is a tough place to play the outfield.
That might hold the green at Pinehurst.
Not today.
It did quicken up a bit today, didn't it?
Man.
Marvin Bernard has had a busy night. Walked and scored in the 1st, fouled out to Santiago in the 3rd, singled in a run, an infield single in the 4th. Runner on 1st, 1 out. And the pitch inside gets away from Benito Santiago, and Ortiz moves into second base. He's in scoring position with 1 out.
Now we'll have to wait and see if it's a wild pitch or a pass ball. Benito not happy, throws the ball to the crowd. That one way inside. And Bill Hahn was in the way for a moment.
Haven't seen a ruling on it yet.
Nope, they have not announced the ruling.
Needless to say, though, Ortiz in scoring position. That's what really counts. 1 out. Count of 1 ball, no strikes on Marvin Bernard. I'm going to call it a pass ball. Top of the order for the Giants. That's a strike on the outside corner. We're even at 1-1.
I think the bullpen's going to start to work again. It's like Rodney Myers.
And he's hustling into action, isn't he? And you are correct, sir. The 1-1 pitch. 2 balls and 1 strike. There's Rodney loosening quickly.
Well, he's throwing a lot. This is not a place where you loosen real quickly. These temperatures
I was going to ask you.
are just horrible.
It's got to be tough to be a relief pitcher around here. 2-1 delivery. It's up high. 3 balls and 1 strike.
Well, they used to have little chicken coops down the lines that they used to leave the pitchers in. Then one year they had them, well, where the Giants are now, which is essentially in the fence in right field. That's going to heat them up somewhat. And at one point they were down there, so they've tried everything to keep the pitchers warm. They don't mind the opposition being cold, however.
Inside ball 4. Marvin Bernard is aboard. Runners at first and second and 1 out here in the 6th. Jim Riggleman has some decisions to make now.
Looking over the lineup card, see just exactly who he has coming up, and that's going to be Rodriguez, Houston, and Santiago. And Marty Demerit, not the happiest pitching coach around. Things have not gone quite as well as he would like after a very good run of it from his starting pitchers.
But you play 162 games, and you're going to have ups and downs in every facet of your game. Bill Miller, the hitter, 0 for 2, walked in the 3rd. And the first pitch is in there for a strike call. Right now, the Cubs going through a stretch with their starting pitching where they're just not getting much beyond the 4th or 5th inning. No balls and 1 strike. Sharply hit, base hit, right field. Ortiz rounding 3rd. They're going to hold him up. The bases are loaded with Giants.
Well, I can't believe that Sonny Jackson held up Ortiz on that one and sent him on the one before. Sammy was going toward the line even before he bobbled it. There would be no play at the plate. And Jackson decided not to run with Ortiz. This is not a real good decision by Sonny Jackson. This ball slicing away down the line. Sammy has to go way to the line, as you see. Ortiz would have scored without a play. Sammy bobbles it. But now the bases are loaded, and that brings Marty Demerit out.
Oh, you're right. I mean, hard to believe that he would have sent Ortiz in the 3rd
and not send him
and
there.
not here.
This was a much tougher play. Sammy had a lot more distance to cover. But it loads them up, and so far they have not scored against Doug Creek, but they're knocking at the door for Armando Rios, who will get his first at bat in place of Barry Bonds. And they were quick to point out up here that Bonds didn't leave because of any re-aggravation of his elbow problem. He just left because things were going pretty much the Giants' way, and it is a very chilly night with a day game tomorrow.
So Armando Rios, who came into the game hitting a .304, 3 homers, 5 doubles, no triples, and 15 runs batted in. Rios is a player the Giants are very high on in their organization. Talking with Brian Sabian, he was the Giants organizational player of the year last year, and he hits a high fly ball deep to right, and it is gone. Grand slam home run, Armando Rios.
Maybe that's why Sonny Jackson held him up, to set up the grand slam. So Rios in his first at bat in the place occupied by Barry Bonds does what Barry Bonds did, just a little bit better. A grand slam. And for Rios, his 4th home run. He's driven in 19. And the Giants are turning this one into a laugher. First ball, fastball right down the middle. See you later. Well, this is the year of the grand slam, and we see another one.
Armando Rios, 27 years old, his first career grand slam. So the Giants lead at 8-0. Bases empty, 1 out. And the hitter, Jeff Kent. Strike of the outside corner.
Well, because Rios is only 5'9", a lot of clubs didn't give him much of a chance. But the Giants have given him that opportunity, and he's made the most of it.
We're talking about some of the players that are in the future for the Giants. Brian Sabian this afternoon, the general manager, mentioned Armando Rios as a guy who does have a future here in San Francisco with the Giants. 1 ball and 1 strike now, the count on Jeff Kent. So the outing, which began promising for Doug Creek, has ended pretty much in disaster. A swing and a miss, and it's 1-2. And for Doug Creek, it's been nothing but trouble since he came up. The 1-2 pitch. Sharply hit center field. Goodwin's got this one lined up, but he makes the catch. 2 men down.
Rios had to pretty much talk his way onto this Giant organization. He was signed as a non-drafted free agent back on January 6th of '94. And that was after a pretty good run at it at LSU. He led the baseball team in '91 and '93 to the NCAA championships, and yet because he was 5'9", nobody drafted him. He can hit a little.
Sure can. That shot went out here about the same spot that Barry Bonds landed in the first inning.
Cub fans who came out to watch a victory tonight, so far not much to write home about.
1 ball, 1 strike, the count on JT Snow. Snow has reached base once in 3 trips to the plate. Doug Creek trying to get this inning over with. And it's 1-2. The day game tomorrow. We'll be on the air at 3 o'clock Central Time. Be nice to see a game during the day. Not quite as cool as it is at night here in San Francisco. Popped it up foul. That's out of play. It's 1-2. But I'll tell you something. What amazed me today was a nice calm morning here in San Francisco. Beautiful weather we've had in San Francisco. Then along about 3 o'clock, it started getting windy. It started getting windy.
That's a daily occurrence.
The trade winds blew in. One and 2. And it's 2-2.
I always think back to Rick Monday's line as you look at those flags high atop center field out there. You look at the flags, and because of swirling winds here, he said the only thing you can tell from looking at the flags is that you're in California.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Called strike 3. The inning is over, but the Giants pick up 4 runs. The first career grand slam by Armando Rios. And the Giants extend their advantage over the Cubs. 8-0 as we head to the 7th.
Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN is brought to you by Pepsi, the joy of cola.
Color of Night. Saturday night at 10:30 on WGN.
Armando Rios, his grand slam in the bottom of the 6th inning, has the Giants out in front 8-0. The Cubs have managed 3 singles off Russ Ortiz. And they bring Henry Rodriguez, Tyler Houston, and Benito Santiago to the plate here in the top of the 7th inning.
And the bullpen up and going. Although Ortiz has things well in hand.
They've got double barrel action going on down to the right field bullpen. The Giants bullpen. There's a look at it.
It's Spradlin, the big right-hander, and Rodriguez, well, the not so big left-hander.
1 ball, no strikes to Henry Rodriguez, who's 0 for 1. He walked in the 2nd. Dusty Baker has done a great job of mixing and matching in his bullpen. The 1-1 pitch. There's a strike. 1-2. Jim Riggleman was mentioning that the Cubs offense, as you mentioned tonight, Stoney, has to get on track. There's no doubt about that. But offensive ball clubs that are built like the Cubs will go through ups and downs, and they'll go through periods where they don't score a lot of runs. A swing and a miss by Rodriguez. That is strikeout number 8 for Russ Ortiz. Is that a season high for him?
That ties his career high. And he accomplished that twice before this year. So it's been a pretty good night for Ortiz. His career high, Wayne, is 9 That in his second start against Houston. So he's one away from a career best tonight.
Tyler Houston, the hitter. 1 for 2. 1 ball, no strikes.
See, this is the time, Wayne, when you have to bring back some of your material from your vaudeville days.
Yeah, exactly.
8-0 late, not much going on.
Get a nice warm cup of coffee here in San Francisco Bay Area.
Chip is no dummy. He knew exactly when to leave.
Oh, yeah. He's heading to Cleveland. Swing and a miss. Wanted to get out of here so bad he headed to Cleveland. Of course, as everyone knows, Cleveland, your given hometown
my hometown is doing pretty good these days.
You know, and the town, I mean, not the team. The team's done very well, but the town itself has made a tremendous rebound. What a vibrant place that downtown area is now. Ground ball to second. Jeff Kent retires. Tyler Houston, 2 men down.
And the Indians 10 games ahead of the White Sox coming into action today. Had won 6 in a row, 8 of their last 10, 23 over 500. But today they lost. Also, the White Sox lost, so they'll stay 10 back.
You know, I got to ask you, Stephen, I was watching you and Chip do some of those Cleveland games. And I talked to some of the Cleveland people when they came through Chicago. The big question is, do they have good enough starting pitching to win in the postseason? They have the hitting. There's no doubt about that.
I'm not sure if it's good enough starting pitching per se. It's one dominant starter to match up with either Pedro Martinez or Roger Clemens in the first game of a series, because if you look at the history of the Indians in postseason play, they drop the first game of every postseason series. I'm not sure if you can afford to do that, especially if you get hooked up with Boston in a 5-game series and you got to face Pedro Martinez twice.
And maybe Ramon Martinez, if he's back strong by then. Popped it up on the right side, down the right field line. Armando Rios camps under it, makes the catch in fair territory. The Cubs go quietly in the 7th. 1-2-3, nothing across. They are stretching at 3-com in San Francisco, with the Giants stretching their lead to 8-0.
Eyes of a Puppy Dog.
GM.
Join us Monday.
And before we get underway in the bottom of the 7th inning, here's Steve with tonight's Ameritech play that makes a difference.
Barry Bonds in the first inning after Bernard had walked. Bonds unloads a 2-run homer, the 4th of his career against Kevin Tapani. That 2-run shot propelled the Giants to the lead, a lead they have never relinquished, and that's your Ameritech play of the game.
Stan Javier is the hitter. 1 ball, no strikes on Javier. He's 1 for 3 tonight. Sandy Martinez is behind the plate now for the Cubs. This one well hit to center field. Good one on his horse near the warning track. Makes the catch. 1 away. Goodwin's been busy out there in center field. Aurelia chased him deep to end the 5th inning. And here is the aforementioned Rich Aurelia.
5 fly balls to Curtis Goodwin.
That's a busy night.
Well, he's also been thrown out at first, second, and third base tonight. So he tries to stretch an inside the park homer, and they get him at the plate.
Man,
he'll have the quadrifecta.
I was going to say that's something that doesn't happen every day.
No.
And thank goodness it doesn't. 1 ball, no strikes, the count on Aurelia. Swing and a foul tip into the glove of Sandy Martinez. 1 ball, 1 strike. The senior producer director of Cubs baseball is Arnie Harris. Tonight's game produced by the commander, Pete Toma. The 1-1 pitch. And it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Mark Brady is our associate producer. And the executive producer of WGN Sports is Bob Borwell. The lovely and talented Gene is our assistant up here in the booth. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count now on Rich Aurelia.
I think he might have hurt himself.
I think you're right. I stumbled away from that last swing.
This is a changeup, and he swings so hard.
Ooh.
Drags his back ankle. And he does a Walter Brennan coming away from the plate.
Don't date yourself now. Don't date yourself. There are people who think you are much younger than that. 2 balls, 2 strikes, and a swing and a miss, strike 3, 2 men down. Catherine Everhart. We'd like to wish Catherine a belated happy birthday. Yesterday, she turned 100 years old, a resident of St. Patrick's Residence in Naperville, Illinois, longtime Cubs fan.
I was just in Naperville, Illinois.
You were at a book signing down there.
I was at Anderson's. It was a very nice community. Ate at the Rosebud. Those folks were terrific. Yes, very good.
Yes, indeed.
And was at Lou Malnati's. Tried a culinary tour of Naperville.
They've got a great Lou Malnati's in Naperville. He's in a former fire station. Strike 1 to Brent Maine.
So you're very familiar with that area.
Oh, absolutely. I know Naperville. The back of my hand, Stoney. No balls and 1 strike. Let's pause here for station identification.
This is America's #1 sports station, WGN, Chicago.
Along with Steve Stone, Wayne Larrivee, 3Com Park in San Francisco. The 0-2 pitch coming up to Brent Maine. He fouls it back. Tomorrow afternoon game, as we've been mentioning, 3:05 Central Time start. Right-hander Kyle Farnsworth, 2-1, a 5.72 earned run average. And left-hander Sean Estes for the Giants, 3-4, 5.16 ERA. Pitching matchup tomorrow here in Game 3 of this 4-game set.
Well, judging by the ERAs, you would think that would be a high-scoring affair. And Wayne, you know that during the daytime here, without the real heavy winds blowing, it becomes a very small ballpark. It's only 335 down the line and 365 to the power alley and left. So at 3 o'clock Chicago time, 1 o'clock out here, tune in and see what looks like will be an offensive affair.
The 1-2 pitch. Leaping grab, Mark Grace, and the side is retired. 3 up, 3 down to the 7th for the Giants. 8th inning coming up. Cubs trailing 8-0.
One of my patients.
Joey, Duncan, Jack, and Jane. Sunday night at 8 on WGN.
Wilson Delgado is the new shortstop for the San Francisco Giants. He'll bat 7th in their order. Switch hitting middle infield prospect. Meanwhile, Russ Ortiz steams to the 8th inning on the mound. He has again held the Cubs to just 3 singles in this game. He has struck out 8 and walked 2.
Well, the Giants have 2 complete games this year, and Ortiz has 1 of them. Mark Gardner has the other. And no opponent has completed a game against the Giants. That's a pretty distinctive statistic.
That means those pesky Giant hitters keep chasing starter after starter, doesn't it? Jose Hernandez, 0 for 1, hits it sharply to second. Knocked down by Kent. Quick throw first base in time. Jeff Kent able to recover and make the play in time.
Kent stays with it. Almost picks up an error, but able to get it there in time. And Jeff Glauser comes on a pinch hit. Cubs have 5 outs left. They trail by 8. They've been out hit 10-3 in an errorless game. The Cubs have not played very well defensively tonight.
Glauser 3 for 12 this season as a pinch hitter. Looks at a pitch in there for strike 1 call.
Terry Adams loosening in the pen.
They just want to get him a little work.
Yeah, he'll come on and try to sharpen things up in case they need him to close perhaps tomorrow's game.
Fouled back, and Glauser right away down to the count. No balls and 2 strikes. San Diego knocked off Pittsburgh 4-2. Atlanta leading Arizona 5-0. That game in the bottom of the 8th inning at the Bob in Phoenix, Arizona.
Well, the Giants know that if that score holds, and this one looks like it's going to hold, they'll move 2.5 games in back of Arizona. Giants will have won their 3rd in a row. Arizona will have had their 4-game winning streak stopped. And Atlanta will have won their 4th.
Called strike 3. That is 9 strikeouts for Ortiz.
And that ties a career best. Set the 2nd game of this season against Houston. Ortiz has just had terrific stuff, and he throws a fastball right by Jeff.
Tell you what, Stoney, he looks stronger as this game is worn on.
Well, the secret has been strike 1, Wayne. He's thrown strike 1 quite a bit. He's mixed his curveball, just the occasional change, and he's been able to spot his fastball a little bit better than we saw the last couple times we saw him.
Curtis Goodwin, the hitter, he is 2 for 3, but as Stoney mentioned, he's been thrown out at 1st, 2nd, and 3rd base here tonight. 1 ball, no strikes, and a wave and a miss at that off-speed pitch. Two balls and 1 strike. Houston defeated Montreal 5-0. Boy, it's certainly good news on Larry Dierker that the surgery was successful for him, and that he may be back.
And he was walking around. He was walking around in his room today, and that's good news.
Ball 4, and Goodwin is aboard. It's a 3rd walk issued by Ortiz.
Dusty probably not having a whole lot of dinner tonight. Decides to eat a peach, which was good for the Allman Brothers and good for Dusty.
Yes, indeed, the Allman Brothers. Mickey Morandini, the hitter. You have a varied musical background, don't you?
Eclectic.
Yeah, eclectic. You lost your arm here in San Francisco. Did you? Some people lost their heart.
My
here.
heart and my arm, right? On that mound, 10 miles an hour on my fastball. I think I see it right behind Ortiz.
Yeah, indeed. I think he's picking it up. No balls and 1 strike, the count of Mickey Morandini.
Russ Rodriguez starting to loosen up in the pen. Rich. Russ used to work for us. That's Rich.
You're right.
He might have worked for us too.
He doesn't anymore? No. Okay. Our crew confirming that he is out of here. As far as WGN is concerned, I guess. 1-1 pitch, and this one nubbed into shallow center field. A base hit over the reach of Delgado at shortstop, and all the way over to 3rd, Curtis Goodwin. And the Cubs have runners at the corners with 2 men down. It's only the 4th Cubs hit of the game.
Mickey Morandini comes through with a base hit. Just barely able to get it over the head of Delgado. And so now runners at the corners, and Curtis almost goes down. But he rights the ship and moves into 3rd. So the fans get a chance to see Sammy hit with a couple of men on.
Yeah, and that snaps an 0 for 16 streak for Morandini at the plate. Now Sosa, as you mentioned, with the runners on base, 2 men on, gets a chance to hit. He's 0 for 3. Struck out twice, reached on a fielder's choice in the 6th. 8-0 Giants. We're in the top of the 8th inning. High and deep to right, and this one's out of here. Sammy Sosa off the scoreboard in right field, a 3-run shot.
Homer number 23, RBIs 53, 54, and 55 for Sammy, who hadn't done anything with Ortiz until this at bat. And it's an 8-3 game.
7th homer yielded by Ortiz this season. And now the action of the bullpen becomes a little more urgent for the Giants. Oh, Sammy wasted no time there, just stepped up and powered it out of here.
Well, the stuff not quite as crisp for Ortiz, and Sammy hit that ball a mile to right field.
Dusty's going to make a double switch. There's Sammy.
Let's take a look at Sammy Sosa as he gets a hanging curveball. And he knows it's long gone. Not much doubt about that.
A towering shot by Sammy Sosa, his 23rd of the season. Giants are making a pitching change, and we'll be back to tell you about it after these messages.
I beat up cars for a living.
Cars like us. People love us.
Charlie Hayes moves in at first base, part of the double switch. And on the mound, Rich Rodriguez, a left-hander for the Giants.
On for the 26th time, no record, but he's done pretty well. Just one home run. And there are 2 outs here in the 8th inning as Sammy has hit his 23rd, and he's now driven in 55. That was a towering home run to right field.
My goodness. Off the scoreboard, above the stands in right field, just below the upper deck. Bonds and Armando Rios hit home runs to the stands just below that scoreboard. That's Sammy's ball. My goodness. Well, Cubs may not get out of here with a win tonight, although certainly the verdict's still in doubt to an extent, although they're down by 5. But these Cub fans came and saw part of what they wanted to see. Sammy Sosa hit a home run. Mark Grace stands in with 2 out, nobody on. Grace 0 for 3 tonight. And he hits a shot to right field. Back goes Rios. This one is gone. Back-to-back homers, a 3-run shot by Sosa and a solo shot by Mark Grace, his 9th home run of the season. He got robbed of his 9th home run last night to left field by Barry Bonds, and this time, no doubt about it.
38th RBI and back-to-back homers have put the Cubs back in this one. They still trail by 4, but the Cubs, who had a meeting before the game and talked about maybe not trying to hit everything out of the park, figured that didn't work, so they'll go back to trying to hit the long ball.
Well, back-to-back pitches, 1 pitch and a homer to Sosa, 1 pitch and a homer by Grace, and there's a wave and a miss by Rodriguez. So Mark Grace, who has 9 home runs already this season. Henry fouls it off and out of play. The Cubs have plated 4 runs in this inning.
Back-to-back home runs for the 5th time this year. First ball fastball. Mark Grace loses it.
He's not going to give Rios a chance to rob him there. That ball was well out of here. No balls and 2 strikes to count on Rodriguez. He lifts it foul and out of play. Rich Rodriguez had been unscored upon in 21 of 25 outings on the year. Eight to 4 Giants. We're in the top of the 8th inning. 2 out, nobody on. Pitch in the dirt, blocked by Maine. Well, the Cubs have had what, about 18 come from behind wins this season, somewhere in that area.
They're no stranger to that, but this would be a big hole to dig their way out of. They've cut the lead in half with a 4-run 8th. And Jim Riggleman, Billy Williams looking over the lineup card, knowing who they have left, and wondering if they'll get close enough to see Rob Nen stride out of that bullpen.
1-2 pitch. And it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. One of my boys asked me the other day, when this Cub stat came up, because it is an unusually high number, come from behind wins. Said if you fall behind 1-0 in the first inning and then you score about 5 in the bottom of the first and go on to win 5-1, is it a come from behind win? And it is.
Yes.
But if you take a look at the Cubs, 4 of their come from behind wins have been coming from behind by 3 runs or more, and 13 of those come from behind wins have been games that they won in their final at bat. And that's really the big stat. Fouled back toward us, but we're a little bit too high to be in danger of getting one of those foul backs in our booth.
Don't worry, I'll protect you.
Yeah, right. You've got the glass in front of you. You're batting down the hatches against the trade winds here. You'd think the tide was coming in.
We'll have them open tomorrow, though. It'll be beautiful here.
Payoff pitch hit in the air and pretty well hit to center field. Back goes Bernard, and it is gone.
The Cubs do it again. The last time Ortiz pitched, they went back to back to back. They do it one more time.
Sosa, Grace, Rodriguez, back to back to back, and it's 8-5.
Well, in the battle of the Rodriguezes, Henry wins it. Hitting his 12th home run, he's driven in 42. And just like that, Dusty's not quite as comfortable as he was when his inning started. And all of this with 2 outs. It started pretty innocuously with a walk to Goodwin. Then a little bloop single by Mickey Morandini. And then 3 straight bombs. And the Cubs within 3. And Manny Alexander now comes on to pinch hit, as Henry takes it to the deepest part of the ballpark, and he crushes it.
Dusty Baker heading back out to the mound. He's got a right-hander up in the bullpen. And he may want to make a change.
He's going to Spradlin.
And that's going to be the case. The Cubs have charged back into it. It's 8-5 Giants, and the Cubs continue their threat here in the top of the 8th inning. We'll be back to tell you about the new Giants pitcher in a moment.
Don't have good exterior paint.
Back in San Francisco, we're getting numb. Okay, from Kankakee. You gotta love that.
Good sign.
But I'll tell you what, the Cubs have warmed things up here, at least for us, Stoney, with back-to-back homers. Sosa, Grace, and Rodriguez.
Well, it's the second time in as many seasons. Last year they did the same thing. Jerry Spradlin comes in, but just in case, they've got Rob Nen throwing in the pen. And going into this inning, it didn't look like Rob Nen would be used, but the Cubs' booming bats in this inning have put them right back into it. So Spradlin comes into this one at 2-1, ERA .380, out for the 22nd time.
Manny Alexander will pinch hit for the Cubs. There's Henry Rodriguez. He's hit his 12th home run. Manny Alexander to the plate, hitting for Tyler Houston.
This is the 7th time in the history of the Cubs, Wayne, that they've hit 3 home runs in a row. And you're here to see it.
Got it. You sign this scorebook for me when you're done?
I will be more than happy to.
Okay. I don't want you to put to Wayne, because I want to be able to sell this on the open market at some date.
Oh, yeah. Autograph's worth nothing and going down in value.
You underestimate yourself. Spradlin's pitch, and that's inside. It's 2 balls and no strikes. Manny Alexander.
Get a walk here, and maybe Sandy comes up next, hits one out of the park. Sandy Martinez is in the on-deck circle.
If that happens, then you've really got something going here. Cubs trailed 8-0 coming into this 8th inning. 2 outs quickly as Hernandez and Blauser were retired, and then a walk to Goodwin. Morandini single, Sosa 3-run homer, Grace a solo shot to right, Rodriguez a bomb to center. And just like that, it's a ball game. 3 balls and no strikes the count on Manny Alexander. And there's ball 4. This is a crazy game.
Well, you can just tell Dusty Baker is sitting there wondering when the Cub offense is going to turn off. Now, Sandy loves first ball fastballs. He loves the ball down, and with the wind tunnel moving out toward right, if he gets a hold of one, we will see Rob Nen, and things will be a little tighter around 3Com Park.
Indeed they will. Giants still lead by 3. Charlie Hayes holds on Manny Alexander at first base. The potential tying run is in the on-deck circle. Martinez, the 9th hitter in the inning for the Cubs. 1 ball, no strikes.
Again, this all started with 2 outs and nobody on.
I liked your term, innocuous start to the Cubs heroics here in this inning. They're going to no pitch here. A ball got away from the bullpen, and the second base umpire quickly called no pitch. Terry Tata held things up. Ball had gotten back all the way behind home plate from the bullpen down the right field line.
And there is Rob Nen, the winner of last night's game. Probably thinking he was going to have the night off, looking up an 8-0 score with 2 outs in the 8th. Only to be up and ready to go.
Sandy Martinez 2 for 13 at the plate. He hits a pop-up into shallow left field. Coming on for it, Stan Javier makes the catch, and the inning is over. Sammy Sosa got things started with 2 outs for the Cubs. A prodigious 3-run shot off the scoreboard in right field. The Cubs coming back with 5 in the 8th to cut the deficit to 3.
Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Sunday at noon on WGN.
We go nuts for Sosa. Yes, indeed. And the Cubs 5 in the 8th inning to get back into the game. Manny Alexander, who pinch hit at the top of the 8th, stays in to play 3rd. And on the mound, Terry Adams.
Adams on for the 17th time. You see the 4 saves. Pretty good ERA. And he'd like to have a non-adventurous 1-2-3-8 and turn it over to the offense once again.
Charlie Hayes, the hitter, fouls it off for strike 1. Hayes comes in at 176. He is 28 for 159. He's knocked in on those 28 hits 27 runs. He has 4 doubles, a triple, and 2 home runs. No balls and 1 strike, and the pitch by Terry Adams. It's fouled off and out of play. 0-2. Terry Adams has struck out 23 hitters in 19 innings in his first 16 outings of the campaign. His last outing was at Milwaukee on the 15th of this month. Pitched an inning, gave up a couple of hits, struck out 1. 1 ball, 2 strikes, the count on Hayes. Doug Creek went 3 innings in relief of Kevin Tampany, so Steve, at least he ate some innings for the Cubs, but the grand slam by Armando Rios certainly blemished his performance, and had it not been for that grand slam, the Cubs would have the lead right now.
Well, Rob Nen is still throwing in the pen, so you would think that he would come in, assuming it still is a 3-run game. The Giants are trying to do something about that.
And the 2-2 to Charlie Hayes. That misses wide, and it's 3-2. And the pitch hit in the air. Center field. Goodwin coming on for it and puts it away. 1 down. So Charlie Hayes retired, and it brings the top of the order to the 4. Marvin Bernard to be followed by Bill Miller. Bernard has walked twice, and when he's walked, he scored. He fouled out to the catcher Santiago in the 3rd. He singled in a run in the 4th, an infield single that plated the Giants' 4th run of the ball game. A late night in San Francisco for that couple, but they came well prepared. They brought the blankets. On the ground to the second baseman Morandini. 2 men down. So 2 out, nobody on for Bill Miller.
Looking ahead to the 9th inning, it's going to be Jose Hernandez, then a pinch hitter, then back to the top with Curtis Goodwin.
Jim Riggleman, the top step of the dugout for the Cubs. Strike one called. His team trying to come back in this game from 8 runs down. The 0-1 to Miller. 1 ball, 1 strike. Miller's been on base twice in 4 trips. He singled and scored in the 6th. Came in ahead of the blast by Armando Rios. Two and 1. Day games on Saturday and Sunday here in San Francisco, tomorrow and the next day. Adams runs the count to 3-1 on Miller. Rios, the on-deck hitter. And the pitch. Chop to the right side. Morandini, tough throw. And he gets him. Nice play by Mickey Morandini, and the side is retired. 1, 2, 3 go the Giants in the 8th. Last chance for the Cubs coming up in the top of the 9th, and Rob Nen will make an appearance for the Giants to try to close it out.
Hercules, Saturday at 1 on WGN.
Well, to be Jose Hernandez, Glenn Allen Hill has appeared in the on-deck circle for the Cubs, and then Curtis Goodwin at the top of the order is scheduled. And Rob Nen is on for the Giants. They also have a new center fielder, F.P. Santangelo, stepping into center field in place of Marvin Bernard.
Rob Nen has just been terrific this year. Looking for save number 18.
And here's the first pitch of the 9th inning, is in there for strike 1. Jose 0 for 2, walked in the 5th. Nen not only leads the National League in saves at 17, but in games finished with 30. That includes last night's game. And he's ahead of Hernandez. No balls and 2 strikes.
Nen with 40 strikeouts in 37 innings. Just 13 walks.
He was picked up right after the World Series victory by Florida. One of the first guys to leave Florida in the breakup of that World Championship team. Came over here to the Giants in a trade and has been a godsend. 1 down. Jose strikes out for the 2nd time tonight. Well, that brings up Glenn Allen Hill. Hill up for the first time tonight for the Chicago Cubs. Glenn Allen is a pinch hitter, 2 for 12 this season with a homer and 2 runs knocked in. 1 out, nobody on. We're in the top of the 9th. Giants leading by 3, and Hill a wave and a miss. Glenn Allen Hill, in terms of home runs for pinch hitters, among the leaders. Then delivers 96 miles an hour. And Glenn Allen Hill's bat looks slow against that kind of stuff. Anyone's would. Here's the 0-2. Swung late, loops a fly ball down the right field line, and this one safely out of play as far as the Cubs are concerned. Charlie Hayes and Armando Rios gave chase near the Giants bullpen. Look at that. I think he's sucking on a Tootsie Roll pop, isn't he? Yeah, he's got a Yeah, he's got a lollipop in his mouth.
Oh, he hit a grand slam tonight. He's celebrating.
I guess so. Check swing grounder, and it's foul on the third base side. You know, I've seen guys, UL Washington, a shortstop with the Royals years ago,
played with a toothpick.
Yeah, played with a toothpick. I always thought that was a little dangerous, you know, one of those hot smashes into the hole at shortstop. And what do you do if you swallow the toothpick? This is a little bit different. I don't think I've ever seen a ball player, at least not on this level. That's not a Tootsie Roll Pop.
That's one of those C's suckers that Mr. Harris likes so much.
From C's Confections, right? Down here in the West Coast. The 0-2 pitch. Glenn Allen hanging in there, down, no balls and 2 strikes. Over his last 32 games, Hill has batted .402 with 7 homers and 20 runs batted in. One out, nobody on. Cubs are down 8-5. Rob Nen trying to close it out for the Giants. One ball, 2 strikes. 22,357 in attendance on a Friday night in San Francisco. One ball, 2 strikes. Inside, and it's 2-2.
That one at 98, so Nen is really heating it up.
You know, when he delivers to the plate, Steve, he almost takes, it seems like a stutter step with that lead foot.
His front foot hits the dirt. It's one of the most unusual motions in the major league. But he certainly doesn't lose any velocity because of it.
2-2, and here's the pitch. Chop foul on the third base side. Glenn Allen Hill trying to keep things going for the Cubs, who scored 5 runs in the 8th inning. The Giants got 2 in the first and a Bonds home run, another run in the third, 1 more in the 4th, and then Armando Rios grand slam in the 6th, and a swing and a miss, strike 3. 2 men down. The Cubs down to their last out. Rob Nen, very impressive.
Pretty good at bat right up until this. A real hard slider. And Glenn Allen Hill goes down. 2 up, 2 strikeouts.
Curtis Goodwin has been on base 3 times in 4 trips. A bunt single in the 3rd, he singled to right in the 6th, and he walked and scored in the 8th. And he's the last hope for the Cubs here in the top of the 9th inning. 1 ball, no strikes. Sean Estes against Kyle Farnsworth tomorrow. 3 o'clock start here on WGN. 1 ball, 1 strike. Back-to-back home runs by the Cubs in the 8th inning. Got them back into the game. Oh, he bunts it up the first base line. Nen diving attempt, and not in time. Pretty fine play by Rob Nen as he shoveled it over to Charlie Hayes, but Curtis Goodwin gets an infield base hit, his 2nd infield hit of the game, his 3rd hit of the game overall.
2nd bunt hit, and now they're going to talk to Rob Nen to see if he's okay. This one he bunted before it hit him, and you see Charlie Hayes straying off the bag. Nen does everything he can do, catapulting it over to first base, cannot get it there in time, and the 2nd bunt hit of the night. So a good offensive night for Curtis Goodwin. 3 for 4 with a walk, and it stays alive. And if Mickey gets on, Sammy represents a tying run, and Sammy has had great luck against Rob Nen.
Mickey Morandini at the plate. Singled his last trip and scored in the 8th. 1 ball, no strikes. Things could get interesting here yet. And right now, Rob Nen as a closer is about as good as it gets in the National League. There's a strike, and it's 1-1.
Well, if you can bring Sammy to the plate, he's hit 3 home runs in 15 at-bats against Rob Nen. And there is Sammy, fresh off his 3-run homer last inning.
2 balls and 1 strike.
Felix Heredia now throwing in the pen just in case the Cubs are able to come back and at least tie it up here in the 9th.
The pitch, swing and a miss at some high gas, 96 miles an hour, and the count even at 2-2.
Well, that's one of the few times you'll see Mickey Morandini swinging a pitch out of the zone. That would have made it 3-1. That was ball 3. But when a guy's throwing 96, 97, it's decision time real quickly.
You've got to make a quick decision. Giants fans come to their feet. Cubs down to their final strike. The 2-2 pitch to Morandini, and he chops it on the right side. Kent is up with it, makes the play to Charlie Hayes, and the ball game is over. Rob Nen nails it down, picking up his 18th save of the season. The Cubs, no runs, a base hit, no errors, and they leave a man. So the Giants, who build an 8-0 lead, hang on for an 8-5 victory.
Well, Wayne, one thing you have to say about the Cubs here tonight, down 8-0 with 2 outs, nobody on in the 8th inning. They at least got the tying run to the on-deck circle in the 9th inning after a big 5-run 8th. Unfortunately, on this road trip so far, the Cubs just 1-4 after dropping 2 straight here at 3Com Park. And the Giants have moved within 2.5 games of Arizona. Arizona lost to Atlanta tonight. The Giants won, and they're getting ever closer to first place.
Russ Ortiz gets the win, now 8-4. Kevin Tampany suffers the loss, and the save to Rob Nen. Boy, it's been a tough 2 weeks for manager Jim Riggleman after a promising road trip to Cleveland and Arizona, in which the Cubs, against those 2 first-place teams, split 6 games. But it has not gone well since. Sammy Sosa had a prodigious 3-run homer in this ball game. Barry Bonds had a towering 2-run shot. Mark Grace hit a home run. The Cubs hit back-to-back home runs in that 8th inning, but 5 runs. They needed more than that to get it done here tonight. We'll be back with more after these messages.
Grand Am. Excitement well built. See your local Pontiac dealer today.
Back in San Francisco, our Budweiser play of the game tonight occurred in the 8th inning. Back-to-back home runs with 2 men down and 2 on. Sammy Sosa, towering drive to right. Mark Grace, solo shot off Rich Rodriguez, and then Henry Rodriguez, a solo shot to center field. Back-to-back home runs got the Cubs back into the game, but they could not finish the deal as Rob Nen closed the door for the Giants in the 9th in an 8-5 victory by San Francisco. Back with more after these messages.
What's the big one? Star 69 from Ameritech.
Take a look at the totals tonight from 3Com Park, Candlestick Point, San Francisco. The Giants win it tonight by the score of 8-5. The loss drops the Cubs to 33-31. The Giants are now 38-30 on the season. The winning pitcher, Russ Ortiz, now 8-4. Kevin Tampany suffers the loss. He falls to 5-3. And the save, the 18th of the season for Rob Nen. Barry Bonds and Armando Rio hit home runs for the Giants. Sosa, Grace, and Rodriguez for the Cubs. Once again, the final score from Candlestick Point, 8-5 Giants. Our next Cubs telecast in WGN tomorrow afternoon. Game 3 against Dusty Baker's Giants. Kyle Farnsworth looks to turn it around against lefty Sean Estes. Our broadcast begins at 3 p.m. Central Time. For Steve Stone, Arnie Harris, Pete Toma, Mark Brady, Wayne Larrivee saying so long from Candlestick Point. Stay tuned for the 10th inning show coming up next.
Chicago Cubs baseball on WGN was brought to you by Budweiser, who salutes America's responsible drinkers. Ameritech. In a world of technology, people make the difference. Pepsi, the joy of cola. AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts. And by Southwest Airlines, offering low fares and frequent flights. Southwest Airlines, the official airline of the Chicago Cubs.